and we should be live starting now. Hello everyone, welcome. We should be live, and today we will be covering the new content that came out in this event, Akiba and Dragon's Summer Beach Modeling King. Joining me today is Housamo.
Hello,
Housamo. And Salgus.
Hello.
And last but not least, Irby.
Hello.
You guys are quite delayed there. Anyways, let us move directly into the content. So, let me just read what comes first. Hi Joe, and then these are all from beforehand. Make sure you vote in the poll. It's up there for funsies. You don't have to vote for the actual best qualifier. You can vote for your favorite or whatever. But yeah, today we'll just be starting off our discussion with the new AR that is a freebie. So it is dropped in the drop quests for the items that you can exchange. You can also redeem 80 from the item exchange as well. So it's one of your traditional things. Not sure if you'll want to max it, but let's just go ahead and talk about it. So this is the Bunyan Zhurong AR that is maxable as stated. Can be equipped on Bunyan Zhurong, but also all around units, water and infernal. So its effect is you can self-bestow Spirit at a 40% rate, presuming you max it, every turn start, and you also resist Charm. Not too much to say about here. I'd say Spirit, if you're rolling for that, you'd want to augment someone's who already has decent flat damage, such as Zhurong himself. Maybe you'll find a quest that Spirit will be relevant in, such as the high difficulty quest we just recently came across, although you could just blow that quest up anyways. And lastly, you may also just want to consider using this on a unit that is particularly vulnerable to Charm, such as River Shiva, who has Charm Weakening on self. So if you do that, then, and this is maxed, he'll never be able to be charmed. So yeah, those are pretty much all my thoughts on this AR.
Zero thoughts.
I'm sure there'll be some unit in the future who charms themselves as a penalty, and you can just put this on them, maybe.
If only Otohime charmed herself.
Yeah,
I mean, she kind of does.
But it's not charm.
Yeah.
Sad.
I like the art, but if no, any other thoughts, Milk?
it's Summer Yama power creep.
Oh, does he have Spirit or something? Nice.
He has
charm resistance.
Charm resistance.
Oh, true. I guess this AR is pretty good just because usually those resistance ARs have been like stuck on rare cards or the 2-star ARs for some reason. So paralysis resistance or fear resistance are usually exclusive dungeon ARs or the 5-star ARs for the summoners. But yeah, it's nice we have one that we can max for charm resistance, which is a pretty annoying debuff.
It's also funny that just last event rerun we had the Fashionista Arachne Catoblepas one, which gave charm resistance the status. I mean, that does have slightly different use cases because it's to allies, but still.
Charm isn't even in challenge force anymore, so I don't know. I feel like this is a bit too much charm resistance for no uses whatsoever.
I don't think this event even has any charmers.
No, it doesn't in terms of just optimal versions.
Nope.
Who knows? I think this is just actually a callback to it's called the super old skill Child, which makes them immune to charm. If you remember that ability that some really crappy units have. But yeah, let's not delete that. I think that's all our thoughts for this. I'll just read the very few comments. Zhurong, yes, it is him. It's a pretty straightforward AR, charm immunity, and the occasional spirit bump. I think it is a callback to Child and Childless. Yeah, see, Jerbear gets it. It's not just me. Right, moving on to the first unit of the Akiba and Dragon's Transient Summon. This will be, actually this is from the drop list, I believe. This will be covered by Housamo. Go ahead.
Okay, so we get a free mob this event, and it's called the Sand Dragon. You can get it through the advanced story. Up till now, I think you can get around Sacred Artifact level of 30, so it'll probably be 100 by the end of this event. So about this unit, they're basically designed to die. So their first skill makes them lose HP every turn, and if you keep them alone, they actually heal back 500 HP, so it keeps a net positive. But if you look at the rest of their skills, it's mainly these after being hit and when leaving effects. Once an enemy hits them, they receive 500 HP flat damage, and they also get conflagration. To help with that, they appear with guts, so they can actually live for quite a bit. But what's more interesting is that when they leave, they give 80 CP to allies 1 square around themselves and break to enemies on the entire board. So because of this, they can actually... This is actually a pretty powerful effect for a mob, I think. Just getting 80 CP straight up. But the problem is that the guts that they have, and they're somewhat high HP for a mob, like 6,164 HP, kind of makes it difficult to plan around this. Last but not least, they have a pretty good scaling CS of applying crit to themselves and applying burn to enemies they hit, which considering that they apply conflagration after being hit and when attacking, I don't know, you can tap in for a bit more flat damage. I calculated this crit CS, and at Sacred Artifact level 100, I think it does 17.9k damage, so it's okay for a mob. The problem is that his attack stat is really low. It's 2,483. So I think like a good AR that has a good attack stat can actually boost that damage significantly, percentage-wise. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right.
For
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, for like unit synergies and AR synergies, I couldn't really think of like too many, to be honest, for unit synergies, even though there's probably a lot, because like, I don't know, most people would just want a free 80 CP. But I guess like if I had to make a list, the number 1 would be Isaac. I guess that would be pretty funny because his CP can be somewhat hard to charge. You can just go for like general all range CS nukers like Perun or this Bunyan variant. And you can just have people with CP conditionals like Temujin so that you can get their crit plus rolling fast. So yeah. For AR synergies, the ones that I would recommend would be the Fashionista Wakan Sab AR and the Hombre Tez AR 3-star AR for getting taunt on Sand Dragon, because it can kind of be hard for the enemies to target him otherwise. If you're gonna chase his CS, which doesn't really have a way to CP charging, I would equip the Wakan Daisuke Welfare Bold New Year AR or the Gunzo Kuma AR for like the CS multiplier, or some way of getting like CP generation like the Zhao Cherno Hot Springs buff AR or the Tetsu Wakan AR. And I guess you can also equip the Zhao Shuten AR because it has gut strengthening, I believe. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
I think it's kind of funny that you've put so much effort into researching how you can get his charge, since he doesn't really have any native ways to get the CP. And he did mention he does have kind of a crappy attack stat too. So I know he does have crit, but I feel like it's generally not going to be worth it to build it, even if it is maxed.
The reason why I bring it up is that when I use mobs, a lot of the mobs have sacrifice, so CP generation isn't actually too big of an issue, but getting like AB CP off the start is pretty good.
That's when he gives it to his allies, not to himself.
Yeah, when he gives it to everybody else. Yeah. But yeah, so I look for the mob CS, even if it's like somewhat underwhelming damage.
I see. I mean, it's kind of tempting to think about it because he has conflagration and burn, but they're separated by regular kit and charge skill.
Yeah.
But in that case, I would just bring a different burner to activate conflagration. Like you could bring Valentine Arc, for example, who does the burning without conflagration. There's also Beach House Chernobog and Chapter 13 to Autotomo and Tindalos, actually, when he gets it from this banner. Which I think is the intent in the first place, since, you know, they're in the same banner. But other than that, I do have some other ideas in terms of how other people can work, mostly with his dying part of his skill. For one, not just for the allies who are going to benefit from it, but also the allies who's coming in right after. I would pair him up, for example, with units who can make up the difference of that 20 remaining CP, which actually there's 2 units exactly who can do that, which is Kanan Kijimuna and Christmas Dead, who both give 20 CP to all allies on arrival, so that instantly fills everyone's thing to 100 CP, you know, provided they're one square around Sand Dragon when he dies. You may also want to bring in some allies who have a damage amp to self on arrival, so this can include a Krampus, who has attack up on arrival with limit turn start and stigma every 5th turn. There's also a Cthulhu who has Brawn and attack up on arrival, and Rage plus whenever he's debuffed, which you can obviously activate with something like the Leisho Sound and AR. And then there's also Kima, who has that Ardor and Concentration thing going on if he comes in on turn 2 or later. You may also do like some sort of damage amp for when people arrive. For example, Kagutsuchi actually gives nourishment whenever he arrives, as you know. Jamboree Kagutsuchi, that is. And you may also think about pulling all allies and enemies in immediately with Boogeyman if he enters. And then there's also pairing this up with an instant charge, such as Perron or Christine coming from the back. And this would be complemented with the break he inflicts on the entire board the moment he leaves as well. You may also want to play with break advantage, rather, by bringing in McCrake, who has a 2.5 advantage against break. He just has a hard time utilizing it with deck.
Don't do that. Don't.
I feel like you were a McCrake believer at one time, weren't you? Or at least you tried to make him work.
No, I always hated Curse Kid, to be honest.
Maybe
Please do not use McCrake.
But the 2.5 times damage multiplier, that's like more than crit, right? Together with break. Oh well.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually... Yeah, I have a lot of notes on this, but they're almost done. Since he is meant to depart, you can also enhance his departure even further with units who are meant to enhance departure. This includes a new unit, Vapula, who gives attack up and defense up to allies on departure, but not on himself. He gives that skill to the ally he moves behind. So if he moves behind the Sand Dragon and he dies, then he will also be giving attack up and defense up to all allies. You may also pair him up with 5-star Leet, who has that ability where on phase start he gives the skill to allies, spread buffs to all allies on departure, as well as post move or post idle gives the skill remove all enemy buffs on departure. So Leet 5 is also a good pair to get these quite strong effects going on, provided you can actually give Sand Dragon a bunch of buffs, or the enemy has a bunch of buffs that you want to remove. And lastly, you may also want to consider bringing Hell Hot Spring Daikoku, who has that ability to revive, well, give a skill that revives people on their departure, or at least heals them. So you may want that extra heal after Sand Dragon leaves as a result, since if you're bringing Sand Dragon, presumably you want him to die. But yeah, as Milk said, just you can bring this with any unit who has strong but difficult to attain charges, such as Isaac, with his all range, possession, doubt, and weapon change all. But there's also Necros and Bacchus, who doesn't have any real way to build his own CP, yet he is known for having a strong crit ++ charge, I believe, with Curse or something like that. And there's also Hell Hot Spring Daikoku again, who has that charge of a board-wide buff reversal, which is equally as strong at a status level 1 as it is at status level 100. So keep that in mind. And yeah, that's it. That's all my thoughts on Sanddragon.
Okay.
You put the rest amount of thought into this.
Well, no one else has ever been designed to die so explicitly like this before, so I figured might as well.
Well, there's Christine giving plus 50 CP when leaving, but yeah.
Just use the real big brain is to use it on your level 30 Kataga LB1 strats teams to charge up another Christine. Now that's the real meta.
No thanks. Christine isn't really into
when leaving
visors since, I don't know, generally you'll want to be bringing her for board wipe clears since that's her main purpose. It's just
yeah, but then what about after that?
That's kind of like you don't use her after that, honestly. You're just doing it for the turn 1 charge and then you're pairing it up with others who can get turn 2 or 3 charges. That's generally how she's played nowadays, although she's kind of been replaced by Perrin in that respect.
All respects.
Yeah.
That's for the when leaving, I guess.
But
yeah, so I'll just make a last minute comment, I guess, that using this guy in practice is actually pretty annoying just because of guts and his high HP.
Oh, right.
And like you can't.
Sorry.
Yeah, and you can't really just like. Oh, you want to go?
No, you go first. I'll comment after.
Okay. Yeah. So the natural like way to play, I think, is like to just like leave him alone so that the enemy starts killing him. But the problem is that his CP given is 1 square around himself, so it's kind of like awkward too. Just like because I forget this like range part because it's kind of weird to like want him to lose like 6k worth of HP, but you also don't want to like defend him at all. But you also want to be near him.
You can just pair him with Night Glow's Kathaga and make him lose instantly all his HP by being near him. And then you can trigger your guts. And then you'll be 1 HP away. There you go.
I suppose.
Yeah, so
that is the real meta.
I'm thinking, what's it called? Thanks, Joe. I'm thinking that those few turns, they're annoying, but they can also be used to your advantage. For example, large maps, you could spend that first turn or 2 while he's eating damage to just reposition your team. Some are safe, but also in range to move in when he does eventually lose his guts. And when he does, then on that following turn, you can move directly within 1 square behind him. So those are my thoughts, but of course I feel like it would be better without guts in general. Such a weird addition. But it does have its use cases. If you refuse to bring someone like Nightglow's Kurogane or Shambri Shiro, he can still function as a sacrifice on a large board.
Yeah, to be honest, my Sanddragon is actually at skill level 99 in case that I'm deranged enough to roll for a 1% no guts appearance.
Alright.
And get 80 CP on turn 1.
We're rolling for that 1%.
I mean, it happens, clearly, due to all my farming attempts where Soul keeps missing his removed death buffs.
This is why it should be skill suited.
When are we gonna get the AR that bestows guts resistance to self?
I don't know.
Well,
we do have a Charm Awakening AR, so maybe one day.
Oh yeah, that's true. That AR has actually gotten a lot of mileage. I don't even remember its original effect. We thought it was bad at first, just the Charm Weakening, but it turns out it's the more important effect than whatever the main one was. Oh yeah, it was like Guts or something.
Yes, it is.
Who cares about that? The main effect is just getting a free
The
debuff.
most important AR.
Yeah, it's pretty
I've
neat.
used the Guts effect before, but yeah. Oh, okay.
Alright.
So
Zalgus, do you have anything else to add? I feel like you didn't say too much.
I didn't, mostly because you explained everything. The only thing I really thought it was interesting for was just that CP into break, which is nice for a potential big burst with the CS's next turn. And that was pretty much all I thought about it, because the rest of his kit didn't strike me as very interesting.
I guess since you bring it up again, I do think that he is pretty... What's it called? He has really strong effects for a 2-star. It's pretty impressive. Like board wide break and that much CP. Christine is the best unit who can give that much CP on Departure, and she only gives 50 CP. And yeah, no one really gives something like Board Wide Break on the entire board. So, which it acts as both as a damage mitigator as well as a movement disabler. And yeah, its resistance is pretty uncommon as well. So it's pretty impressive.
Mitigator?
Yeah. Damage amplifier rather.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, it's quite cool, I think, for a 2-star. Yeah, I think we received a lot of mobs for the past 1 or 2 years, and they have like increasingly complicated kits, but they haven't really increased in terms of, you know, the amount you'd actually want to use them in the end. But I feel like Sand Dragon, just because of those 2 extremely strong skills, ends up being like finally a mob that I feel like I'll want to use for once, and not just for mob memes.
Honestly, I think everything that involves on wave is already a meme, so.
I mean, it is a meme, but if you're playing by the meme, then die by the meme, right? And Sand Dragon does it quite well.
Okay, cool. I'll read the comments so that we don't spend too long on this mob.
Alright, go ahead.
Sandurg, thanks for subscribing, Dermpole.
Yeah, thanks.
Babe has the best kit in the banner. Entire banner's purpose was to dial down power level, but agreed on Babe. I saved some FP if the other attribute are released. Better than Ophion, TBH. Tindalos. Welcome to Did It for the Emojis. Also, Zoe just became a sponsor. Yay, congrats. Nice. You are a member too now. Zoe, please. This is probably the only time Zoe became a true Aura stan. New mobs better than year 1 units. Okay, that's it.
I'd say that's fair. Not all units, but this one actually does seem to have a strong kit up front than some year 1 units. So, pre-EVO, of course. Right, moving on then. We will now be talking about Babe. Bunyan. This will be covered by Zalgus. Go ahead.
Let me just bring back up the screen because I was alt-tabbed out into something else. So, Babe Bunyan, he is the first of the column clearers of this banner since, I don't know if you made the column clearer joke here or...
It's in the poll.
Only in the Discord.
Chat.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't open that up. So yeah, he's the first of our column clearers, and he does quite a lot of damage, just like his base form. But unlike his base form, he doesn't lose attack power at each turn. Although his full potential damage is still conditional. So, before we talk about his attacking side, we can go through his other less interesting skills first. He loses HP every turn start, 500 HP each turn. In theory, this would power up his CS, which grants limit. But he actually heals quite a lot of HP, so on hit, so it's kind of irrelevant. If he hits a single unit, then he'll just negate the HP loss, assuming they have at least 500 health, which they probably will. When he appears, he fears in long slash range. I have no clue what this skill is supposed to be for. Long slash is a bizarre range to fear on, and it's on a questionable trigger. When appearing means I guess you could always fear the row turn 1, as long as Babe is in up front, but I don't know what purpose that would serve. Since Babe is supposed to be a column clearer, so he's already going to be, killing a column, and long slash fearing means he can't even hit them anyway until he shimmies over to them, which has its own problems due to how he wants one of his face start abilities on them to do more damage. I mean, it's nice that it's 100% proc, but units who inflict fear are pretty common, and they can do it at better ranges than long slash. I mean, I guess you could try and bring in Babe from the back line to fear, but that seems very impractical for a pretty low gain, and you could just bring a unit who could actually fear them normally instead, like Shiro, do a magic range on demand. So I don't know what that skill is supposed to be about, but whatever. He has immunity to fear, which is nice, since fear is annoying, lasts forever, drains CP, and inhibits movement, but Babe doesn't really have a reason to move, so it's not as useful as it could be, I guess. Every buff that Babe gets, he will heal allies in a 2 square diamond radius for 200 HP. This can be a pretty nice heal if you just spam buffs on Babe. It's held back a bit by the 7% proc rate, although it can really be considered an 8% proc rate for reasons I'll go over now. So on the attack side, Babe brings 3 damage out for himself: Concentration, Ardor, and Confusion advantage. Every phase start, he gains Concentration at a 100% rate, so that's like very good. It effectively brings his trigger rates 10% up, at least for the first 2 turns, every time. Yeah. At each phase start, he will inflict confusion in shot range and will deal 2 times damage to enemies inflicted with confusion. So the confusion is 100% rate, so he effectively always has the 2 times multiplier against columns he starts in, ignoring like immunities and nullified buff and whatnot. But this does have the disadvantage of encouraging Babe not to move, or else he'll to a different column or he'll lose his advantage. Confusion is also currently quite a rare buff, debuff rather. There are 3 units who inflict it. This Babe, Turing, and Isaac. Isaac does it in phase start in this big diamond. Why do I hear an echo?
Do you hear an echo?
I hear an echo from someone. Okay,
I don't
stopped. Okay, it stopped. So yeah, Isaac does confusion on phase start in this big, what was it, like 2 or 3 diamond radius, and Turing has to be hit to inflict confusion. So spreading confusion can be kind of impractical. So this kind of leaves Babe with no option to really reapply confusion besides his own CS. Confusion itself is, of course, useful because it stops the enemies from moving horizontally. But since confusion has this advantage over fear, for example, because the enemies can still move, but they can only move vertically. So that can be used if, say, you know who's moving, and then or I guess you wouldn't know that with confusion phase start, but it can cause them to keep attempting to move even though they can't even get near you. Whereas if you were to fear them instead, someone else would start moving instead. So there is something to consider with confusion compared to like fear or something. But for all intents and purposes, it's really just there for damage amping. It also gives 1k flat damage, which is nice for Babe, I guess. And at the end of each move phase, he will give Ardor to himself and allies left and right at 70% rate, or 80% rate really. So that's nice. It's a pretty brain dead automatic buff, and he effectively it makes him a pretty effective column clearer with his allies. So say for like a coin farming quest, or I guess these farming quests because they're all tall. If Babe sits in the middle, then he'll be powering up 2 units and himself, so that's nice. When attacking, he steals 500 HP. Well, if they have 500 HP. So that's the part that negates his own HP loss. If he hits even 1 unit, then he'll just negate it. Which leaves me thinking that the HP loss is kind of pointless, with it being so low, but whatever. And lastly, he applies this strange skill to enemies that decrease HP and CP to enemies in a 2 square diamond radius when they leave. So I guess kind of like Turing's logic bomb. So the HP loss is 3000 and the CP loss is 50. The HP loss isn't incredible, I would say. There are more effective methods of doing flat damage spreading, like Turing. But the CP loss can be pretty good. 2 units dying is all you need to completely reset the enemy's CP, which could be pretty useful for stopping CSs, since Babe kills things pretty effectively. And Babe's CS is a all-range attack that grants himself limit and inflicts confusion to the hit enemies and those left and right. Although the left and right part seems a bit pointless because Babe will always get around to hitting them anyway because it's a all-range CS. So outside of enemies having nullified debuff or reflect debuff and also being adjacent, that doesn't really seem to have a use case, but whatever, I guess. So since it inflicts confusion on everyone, it effectively has a 2x multiplier, assuming no immunities. So his kit's mostly just about damage, really, with minor supports sprinkled in, just like his normal form, really. In terms of damage, he's definitely up there. If we assume he has his regular infernal advantage or infernal element, concentration, confusion, and ardor, he's going to be dealing 26k damage plus 1.5k flat damage from confusion and HP drain. That number's greater than his own damage from his normal form on turn 1, which is 24k, and his normal form has damage ramping down, so the fact that Babe can just do 26k whenever he likes is pretty impressive. Although, note that Summer Babe has to do it with confusion assistance. He can't keep it up for other columns unless he has like Isaac or Tyrion or someone to spread the confusion he already put on the board. His damage actually matches up pretty well with Tadatomo 5, who I talked about in a previous stream for being a very simple column clearer who requires no setup, and hit Tadatomo's damage at the time I said was actually quite high in terms of just column clearing. Tadatomo deals 27k damage, so Babe here starts pretty well matched up against him in terms of damage, 27k versus 26 plus 1.5 flat. And for his CS, assuming he has all the previously stated damage amps, he'll deal 17.5k on SA1, which isn't that bad. For comparison, another all-range CSer like Tindalos 5-star deals 36.3k, assuming he's got Stigma on someone. So with a base damage like Babe's, his CS could definitely be powered up quite easily to get him to do a lot of damage, but the problem is that Babe doesn't generate any CP to himself, so you would need to bring someone who can actually generate CP for him. Either way, as far as dealing damage goes, Babe's pretty good. Even without confusion, he's dealing 13k effortlessly, so he's a pretty good option for a brainless column clearer, just like Tadatomo 5 and Takumi Nakata. You could pretty much bring many people to buff him, since the only common buff really he has is Ardor. As for ARs, I didn't really think of any particularly unique synergies. You might bring something that powers up his CS if you're really going for that strat. You might appreciate the Durga Zhao Mountaineering AR to grant himself guts occasionally, because he is pretty squishy. He's infernal, and he doesn't have any defensive buffs, but he already starts with guts, which for some reason I forgot to mention. Yeah, he already starts with guts, so he does get to take advantage of that. But you might bring the Zhao Durga AR if you want to try and refresh it to give him a bit more longevity. But yeah, besides that, I think he's a decent unit. He can match a 5 stars damage as a 4-star, and his base attack stat is actually pretty low as well. So he's doing all this damage despite that. So if you seed him or something, he'll start doing quite an impressive amount, more than he already has anyway. Anyway, that's about all my thoughts.
All right. Actually, why don't you go ahead, Irby and Milk? What do you think?
Oh, me? Okay. I actually like him because my Babe Bunyan is seeded, attack seeded, and his attack stat is pretty low, like relatively really low. So he's doing 33k shot damage in a column. Like, that's pretty good with me. Like it's really, really high. Is that not the case? So yeah, actually I do have a few things to note as well. If you have Isaac 4, his confusion is actually on the entire board and not the diamond. The diamond is just for his 3-star. I don't know if that was said. The other part is that Oh, okay. And the other part is that I was testing him out in the Warmonger CQ, and you can actually kind of charge his CS and like approach this limit if you know you can like sort of safely stall phase, because you can use the turn start HP loss and his Ardor CP charging to get to a CS. If you know, like, Yoritomo's just gonna sit in the back or something, and you can kill him anytime. So, I guess if you ever run into a situation where you can stall with a Bunyan or something, then you can do that, but I don't know when that will happen again. So yeah, just a thought.
Well, if you did have 1 HP on Babe, his CS would deal quite a lot of damage. It'll deal like, what, 35k? So that would be quite a lot of damage. And that's with SA1.
Oh, yeah. Also, I actually had something else to say, is that you can equip the Pollux Bath Theme AR that gives crit plus. So if you can get a low HP Babe Bunyan, then you can also try tap into this crit plus when attacking.
Yeah, I did think about that AR, but then I remembered that he heals so much that I thought that it wasn't as worth mentioning it. But yeah, Pollux Bathim AR gives crit plus when he's below 50% health at an 8% rate, so he can use that as a nice damage amp as well.
Alright. Any other thoughts, RB?
Yeah. It sure is a column clearer, alright. But yeah, I don't have a lot of thoughts on this kinds of unit. The damage isn't higher than we already had, and the supported side isn't really that great either, from what I've seen.
Oh, actually, I have a few thoughts.
Barring that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Barring the CP only, that is, which can be pretty useful in challenge quests where you have like the mob enemies that have very low HP, and you have the boss enemies that are immune to everything and are just going to do a big charge attack, so that can be useful there.
I wonder if the skill applies after their CP skills. So, say if you killed someone who gave everyone CP, if they would give everyone CP and then they would take it away because they're also leaving with Babe's skill.
I think acquired skills apply last, but it's been a while since I've tested it.
That could be a nice counter.
Anyway, yeah, I have a few thoughts on what you said, Ruby. One, I sort of agree with your sentiment that, yeah, he's a column clear and the sport's kind of whatever. But I also disagree with the fact of, you saying that we haven't really had, or he doesn't really surpass damage that we don't already have. Because, well, while that's sort of true, it's also, we're only recently entered this new tier of damage levels, so like greater than 20k damage. And we only have a handful of units that can do that. And I know it seems really cheesy that this is just a banner full of column clears, as we'll see. But I think it's nice that we actually have this many units to add on to what previously was just maybe 5 units that you need. Or picking 3 of 5, rather. To give you an understanding of how good his damage is, the best column clears we have right now is Takumi Nakata at 30k DPS, Valentine's Valor at 23k DPS, and Chapter 13 Tadatoma, which is at 26k DPS. These are all 5 stars, by the way, and Babe Bunyan by himself is a 4-star. Not to mention he's also Infernal, so he can actually equip the support AR, or rather the C boosting AR, so you can go ahead and bring him in support, if anything, and he'd actually function well as someone who boosts other people's damage as well with that Ardor. So he actually does quite a lot as a column clear compared to the other ones, which kind of have the caveats of either not being able to equip an AR, or they're a 5-star, or something like that. But I think Babe Bunyan has extremely generous damage for a 4-star. This is definitely like a new tier of 4-star damage, I'd say, in the very least, that is completely independent of external damage amplification. So yeah, I think it's impressive.
I don't know. I don't think it's super different from his regular, especially since the calculations presented had the infernal typing in consideration as well. So that's a boost that's not really realistic for all situations.
Which one?
But yeah, it's okay. The calculations
Why
that
would
were
that not
presented
be
like his
realistic?
26 HP. That's not. it was with the infernal advantage already calculated inside it. And
so you just
we're not always going to we're not always going to be able to do 26k HP directly or whatever was the value, because there are a lot more elements now, especially now, that do not take increased damage from Inferno.
You make a good
even
point.
though there's not a lot of units. Most of the quests we've been getting a lot of.
No.
quests with
You make a really good point, but as we'll see with Catoblepas, I think that might be by intent by Life Funders. Actually, these units that aren't necessarily going to work with every quest, but if you know the specific quest you're taking to, then they may work. But we haven't talked about Catoblepas yet. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is, if you're going to do a grind quest, then you'll know what the team composition is, or the enemy team composition is rather, and the exact attributes that there will be and what positions they'll be, and then you can easily decide if Bunyan is worth your time or not. And oftentimes, I feel like Infernal would work in advantage if there's no Valiant threats or anything like that. And
I think it would too, but it's mostly in quests where enemies only have less than 10k HP, so that's why I kind of disregard the Infernal advantage.
I see.
Because usually when enemies have more, they usually also have more diverse element casts.
I get how you feel, because he doesn't do everything, but I think that's the point. Life Wonders is trying to populate this niche so that we can pick out and swap
I'm just
between
saying
commoners.
it's just another one. It's just another one. I don't feel like I need to have him over his regular unit for column clearing. That's all I think.
I don't really like how much his damage already decreases by turn 3, so I would feel more comfortable bringing this Babe Bunyan versus his variant, honestly.
I do think it's funny that he power creeped himself.
Yeah. I also think that his just damage is much more reliable here, because Babe Bunyan's regular kit, it's only 9% he gets attack boost, right? Whereas here it's just guaranteed for the most, except for Ardor, which it's gonna be 8%.
His damage side, but he's got a bunch of 80%, because you also need to. I mean, if you're considering his stupid HP drain.
No, I'm not, because that's just the non-comp clearing. Like I said, I agree with Irby. I don't really care about anything that's not related to comp clearing, and that stuff is not really related, so I don't really care about that.
Isn't the Ardor 70% here as well?
It should be 80% with concentration, which is phase start. So yeah, it's still
80% is less than 90.
Well, what's it called? That's just the one buff from Babe Bunyan to himself, whereas this is several buffs, and 2 out of 3 of them are guaranteed. And yeah, it's also has the added bonus of being something that he can actually buff allies with as well. So unlike Babe Bunyan, who is almost completely self-sufficient unless you move him for nourishment or some shit like that. But yeah,
Or have him die for bigger.
No, you don't talk about
Yes.
that. But we're not grinding at
Those
that
use
point.
all
Yeah,
I want,
yes, we know your clear had it, but it's not useful for grinding, which is what I'm presenting here, and what Irby is presenting here too. But yeah, you guys see some utility on his other parts. That's fine, but I think I'll actually honestly be using Babe Bunyan depending on the drop quest now. His damage is really respectable. But of course,
I would if I had him.
Well, the banner's not over yet.
I'm not pulling anymore.
Well, the event just started, so we'll see how that turns out. Any other thoughts before you read up the comments, Salgus?
I don't know. He can equip that one free 5-star AR, the TV star and Kurogane one that makes it so that he gets 1k damage. So get that. If you really don't know what to give Babe, just give him that one, because a 1k damage on his already respectable attack makes it pretty beefy.
Yeah. That's a respectable choice. But again, you're not grinding then.
I just saw a comment that actually I'll just say it when we get to it, because it'll be relevant then.
All right, then you're free to read all the comments. Go ahead.
Where were we?
New mob is better than your own units
New mob.
by Prisma.
Yeah, it kind of is better than your 1 units, huh?
Yeah.
The Sand Dragon. Hello, what did I miss? You missed the AR, which wasn't really that much to talk about, and Sand Dragon, which I guess it kind of has a mildly interesting kit, but not that much. The baby, no, not Metroid. The boy who invaded Mana Pools, Free AR and Sand Dragon. At least all columns will be clean by the end of this event. Yeah, they will be.
Yeah, the drop.
Assuming you actually do have Catoblepas. They're nice if you have Catoblepas.
Yeah.
Yes, if you don't have Catoblepas, you're fucked. Or Valentine Examiner.
It's pretty horrible. If you don't have both, then you're really in for a problem. Thanks, Prisma. The American Moo Moo, I give him ice cream. Also, I've always been an Arastan.
I believe
Really?
in Joe. Yeah, he used to be the #1 stand, then got demoted to #2, but he's up there again.
Lolos. Ara, will you use my Tindalos? I'm going to preempt him and say he probably won't, because Milk's Tindalos
Both
is
Milk
very
and Harvey
strong.
have them at like level 83 and nearly play boss. It's kind of funny. Sorry, Joe.
Sad. So I guess not. Hi, got an arrival. Like Summer Tindalos. Oh, you mean Joe's? Host mode players like easy teams because of the farming. We could use a regular mission with alternate win conditions. As long as it's not survive X amount of turns, because that would make farming it absolutely horrible.
Well, if it's just an alternate condition, then
Yes,
it's fine.
let's have farm quests have survived for 20 turns. Let's go.
No, I'll bring none units so that it goes slightly faster. So what do you think is the best AR for him? What about Crafter's CP AR for his charge? I mean, best AR is subjective, of course, and depends on the situation, because you could either just focus on his raw damage and give him just a stat stick, or the Pollux Batham AR for damage. You can focus on his CS, but you would have to build a team around actually generating his CP quickly enough to, make it so that he CS is in good time. Or you could be defensive and give him guts, or I don't really know what would be the best. I wouldn't say any are. Like I said, I don't think any are like exceptionally synergistic. Unless you call just buffing his attack stats synergistic. So yeah, I don't know what the best is really. But yeah, if I were to say, then just the Crafter's 5-star free AR for damage, for just raw damage. The Bathim Pollux AR if you intend to make use of his low HP, but you would need to stall for that. And attacking things would quickly bring him down, bring him back up to half HP. And I guess the Durga Zhao AR for defense, for more guts defense. Infernal shot units aren't inherently good for column clearing, so Babe's got that going. Actually, back on Prisma's Crafter CPAR, yeah, I guess it's the 5-star TV star and Kuragane one that gives ramping CP, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so it's useful for that as well if you want to stall, and then he would start giving himself quite a lot of CP. So it could be useful for that as well as a stat stick. Look at all these column clearers. Hoku Kamui be like, his Hell Onsen version, whose kit I forget except Nullify debuff, or Nullify buff.
Yeah, and he's super strong or something like that. It's like Kengo, but less about losing his HP and more about keeping it.
He's Inferno variant, which is interesting. I do not know what the lore implications of this are. Does he even have any? I forgot. I only looked at his full art once. Does he actually have the Infernal Flames or no?
I don't think so. He's just
I don't think so.
in his cowboy overalls with his gun. I don't know.
He's infernal because he's cursed.
What does it mean?
There you
For applied skills, also the triggers, timing, triggers matters for the timing. For applied skills, the triggers. Huh? I do not know how to parse that.
Well, if you're trying to say something about will these effects work for applied skills? They just work as if the unit who acquired those skills actually departed in the case of the acquired skill Bunyan gives, and the order of it presumably is going to be the last one amongst all their leaving skills. Alright, good.
New players need unlimited units to farm, or wait for a simple and good banner like this. Some of the new semesters are color complex and need specific support.
Oh, that's true. This one is fairly simple.
Yeah, this banner is almost disappointingly simple. Honestly, I kind of like the gibberish complex kits.
You're just liking how much we're gatekeeping new players and how only people with the biggest brains could play.
Yeah. Babe gives the highest boost on the banner, if I recall correctly. That is correct. Babe is the only unit on banner who can equip the event AR, the Babe London Zhurong AR. And as a result, because he gives 30 base and the AR also gives 30. Was it 30 or 20?
Yeah, 30. So 60% as the highest. Even higher than
so yeah, he gives 60%. Disappointingly, he's not. I wish Babe was available for both quests, because then I wouldn't have to use goddamn Tindalos. Oh well. So yes, Tindalos is, not Tindalos. Akiha on the other side is not the support you want to be taking. You want to be taking a Babe with the event AR. Wow, sad moment. My condolences, Joe.
In reference to the whole stand thing.
It's alright, the only useful character in my banner is that Ben 10, ex-Ben 10.
Alright, using his Tindalos, I think. I used your Ben 10 recently, so thanks for that. It was the only Ben 10 main list though, so.
Yeah, I don't see many ex-Ben 10s, unfortunately. I don't know whether that's because she's deprecated or because people don't like her as much as their favorites.
He's expired after Shiva. Goodbye.
People believe the Urbi slander of how he got out power crept by
slander.
I mean,
That's slander. It's true.
I mean, at this point, I think Summer Oz kind of power crept her. It, like for ages to come, considering you'll only get better. Why this limited 5-star unit is bad? Well, we haven't talked about them yet, but I'll just say right now, I don't think they're bad. I think one of them is simple in the vein of Babe Bunyan, and I think the other one is a ridiculously defensively tanky unit that reduces damage to 5%. So
in
I wouldn't
reference
say they're
to
bad.
the title of the stream, though, which is called The Weakest 5-Star.
Oh, you're referring to his attack stat?
Yeah, it's a bit of a clickbait, but it's also not untrue. Tindalos is not a bad unit, but he, as a matter of fact, does have the worst attack stat for 5 stars in the game. We'll talk about that more as we reach him, though.
Which makes him a horrible grind unit. Why didn't they put Babe on his side? My god.
Right, let's save the Tindalos discussion for later.
He's secretly non-range again, but they didn't want to give it.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, Mark. I wouldn't say they're bad, they just don't stand out in terms of kits. Well, yeah, Arrow didn't actually mean they're like bad. But no, he doesn't, but his horns are black. That doesn't count for the flames. It's because Babe is an urban legend. He is like a shadow. Is that how it works?
Apparently, Babe Bunyan is part of fake mythology.
Shadows have so many. Okay, sure.
Babe turns into Cthulhu, probably. Wow, call me a pickup artist as I grab 2 babes. No. Okay, that's all.
Okay, almost an hour in and we only finished 1 unit. Let's go to the next topic. Thank you for covering that, Salgas. But now the next topic.
Sanddragon.
Oh yeah, well, that doesn't count. Moving on to the next unit, this will be covered by Urbi, I believe. This is going to be Akiha Gongen. Go ahead.
Yes. Akiha Gongen. Well, if you like to call him clear as well, you have another one here. Akiha Gongen is even more direction at column clearing than Babe Bunyan, as he has even less supportive capabilities than Babe, in my opinion. So he starts off by just flat out dealing 2 times as much damage as usual, because he has non-burn strengthening. So long as he doesn't have burn, he's going to deal twice as much damage. And he also has the opposite, which is burn strengthening. If he does have burn strengthening, he's going to charge a lot of CP. Well, not actually that much. It's 15 CP per turn, but it's reasonable. So first of all, even before delving into the kit, it's pretty clear that you're probably going to want to keep him not having a burn, but we'll get to that later. He also has Charm Weakening to self, which makes him take damage every turn when he's charmed, which is honestly okay. It's not as debilitating as other Charm Weakening effects, like the ones Shiva has, where it just rest in peace proc rates. But yeah, it's okay. It's not a big deal. He also has a very weird turn start HP regen, and also just by existing, he can give 500 HP to a big box in front of him of allies, a 3x2 box of allies in front of him, which is okay. It's not 100%, but it's mostly all the supportive abilities he has outside his bind on hit, which is not really that accurate. So let's get to the damage. He starts by applying Conflagration to enemies hit and allies left and right, and he also deals extra damage against enemies with Conflagration. At turn start, he also gets crit to himself on the turn 1 of every phase, but on subsequent turns he gets crit plus instead. These crit for only up to turn 3 though. After turn 3 he gets nothing. So these abilities are all 100%, so he pretty much gets crit for free and 2 times damage multiplier for free as well from not having burn, so that's pretty alright. And he also has a burn advantage, a minor burn advantage as well, which he does not have in his kit outside of his CS, which applies burn to enemies hit and also to himself. So basically, he's supposed to be this column clear that just deals a lot of damage, and when he eventually charges up, which he doesn't really have any way to charge himself up, really, is going to make himself weaker, slightly weaker, but also charge faster. So that's pretty alright. There are many ways to circumvent this. We have a lot of ways to apply burn resistance or stuff like that. We have Israfil that can also is not a very good column clear, but he's good to reposition and can also apply stigma to further increase the damage. So so that's a pretty good unit to prevent him from getting burned and to keep his 2k attack damage. You can also use Ulanbadr as well for the same effect, or even the Sutter and Anvari AR, but you have to actually move him, and he doesn't really have any ability to move, but it is an option. If you eventually meet all these conditions, and if for whatever reason the conflagration misses, it's 90%. He's going to deal 11k damage. But if his conflagration hits, he's going to deal 16k damage for the first turn. On the second and the third turn, this damage can ramp up to 21k damage, which is pretty alright and respectable. It's around the values we've been talking about, slightly lower than them, but he is a snipe unit, so that is kind of to be expected. Also, the only buffs that he has are crits, which are pretty much they are usually hard to get on other units, so any other buffer can instantly boost these values to ridiculously high values. For instance, you can just put a Lianan and he's going to take advantage of all those buffs at once, because outside the CS crit, but it doesn't matter. You can even take advantage of that if it's a subsequent turn after turn 1. So that's pretty respectable, in my opinion. So yeah, he's a snipe unit, deals a lot of damage. That's pretty much it. For ARs, honestly, he's already pretty accurate. With all his rates outside the conflagration. So if you for some reason haven't really want to make this slightly more accurate, you could equip the Alice and Volos AR that gives him glint on phase start. It's not 100% either, but it's definitely going to matter if you want to make this more reliable. Or you can also, if you have seeded or you just don't need that much damage, you don't need more than 11k damage, then you can just equip the Kulave AR, because he can equip it, and that can be really useful to boost up the effects of your other column clears that you're probably using on vertical maps. Another thing I forgot to note, I only said burn resistance and didn't mention any of the nullify debuffs effects or reflect debuff effects or any of that. I didn't mention those because he's going to apply burn to himself for each enemy hit. So if he has a nullify debuff and he CS's, sure, he's going to block the first burn on the first enemy hit, but on the second enemy he's going to get burned and he's going to lose that 2 times advantage of non-burn striking. So that's why I think it's a lot better to just use these effects if you're worried about them. The way you can apply these effects aren't very conventional, but I think Israfil is a realistic option to get around this if you actually need it. Yeah, pretty solid. Column clear, Babe Bunyan, more damage. Babe Bunyan can definitely deal more damage, especially when his attack stat is so low on his own. But I think with the right buffers, Akiha can reach even greater heights. So those are all my thoughts.
Okay, thank you, Ari. So, any additional thoughts, Mook, Salgas?
I never know who wants to go first. I think he's alright. Like, yeah, as far as column clearers go, for the snipe units, yeah, Aki has damage when, assuming he has everything ready. It's higher than Otohime's damage, who I think deals about 13k. So the fact that Akiha can do it will do more damage. It's pretty nice, although Akiha has only 3 turns to do it. So I think that's kind of... I mean, it's not the worst limit, since I mean, if you're doing column clearing, you're probably going to be going fast anyway. So it's not the worst limit to only be able to crit for the first 3 turns, but I can see it being a hindrance at some point. I do think it's kind of weird that he doesn't give himself crit plus, which is a shame. He goes crit plus again. So I don't know why they didn't give him crit plus there, but well. Otherwise, I do think that for his ability to outdamage someone like Otohime, who, like previously, for snipe units was the like front runner. Actually, I don't know if there are any other snipe units who exceed her, but she's definitely one of the most practical. So Arcade's definitely pretty good for that.
All right.
Oh, is that my cue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So my thoughts on Akiha. Yeah, like his damage is definitely worse than Babe's in the sense that even if you take out Babe's Infernal Advantage, Babe actually still does slightly higher damage. I think it's like 17 point. No, that's a different calculation. But anyways, actually it is the right calculation. He does like 17.5k damage compared to Akiha's like 70k damage. But yeah, the flexibility in not having like common buffs kind of makes it easier to team build around Akiha, which is nice. I don't really like the fact that he's kind of limited in the sense of like I don't really see why they had to add this like burn like strengthening or non-burn strengthening. I mean, the free 2x damage would have been fine, but I just don't really see why the CS had to penalize himself as well. What else is there? Yeah, I think there's a problem with this and using Hecate because she's also like a bonus unit in this farming quest. If you ever decide to pair them with each other, even though that's somewhat weird, I guess. And what was the last thing that I had to say about this unit? Oh yeah, I don't really remember. So it's basically a pretty straightforward column clear, and because he can pair well with common buffs, he's pretty flexible. That's about it.
Yeah. My thoughts on it are, I mean, it's neat that he can do it at snipe range, so you could put him in behind and it'll work equally as fine. Of course, that doesn't necessarily work out with the rest of your team, who generally want to be within that shot range. But, yeah, I wouldn't really describe using him for anything other than column clearing. He is Nether type, though, which is that special attribute that can equip both the Seed Booster as well as the Blossom Booster, so you may want to bring Akiha or put him on support just because of that. He has great flexibility when it comes to like which resources booster you want, and Nether is a fairly neutral attribute to be bringing. So unlike Babe Bunyan, who may have some weird interactions with Valiant, Akiha can get by.
Yeah, it's the same issue.
It's the same one. Same issue, I guess. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What can do? But Urbi was right in the case that, unlike Babe Bunyan, Akiha generally doesn't have much like damage amps that are already existing that can like mess up the overlap. So you can buff him and get away fine with any of that. But yeah, I also agree with Milk that the CP mechanic is kind of completely pointless and butchers him. It does kind of force him to be played quickly, even more so as a column clear, which I think is the intent. Punish you if you're not using him with his intended column clearing way. In that sense, he's a lot like Babe Bunyan as well, who only has that phase start confusion and stuff like that in short range. I didn't mention this before with Babe Bunyan, but that's because it also applies to Akiha Gongen, and I'm starting to see more 80% activation rates, which is annoying me. It's like now that the Kool-Aid AR has existed for a while, they know that people are going to be using it, and now they're expecting them to use it. And along with Babe as well, it seems that they're going to give them most of the damage consistently at high rates. So 100% crit as well as non-burn strengthening is great, but that bonus bit with conflagration Like you can only get if you decide to seed them as well as bring like the Kulebe or something like that.
No, it's 90%. It's 90%.
Is it?
Yes, the 80% are the healing support things.
Yeah, he's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
The conflagration? Really? That's not what I have right there on the screen. Maybe it got updated.
Oh, the wiki says 90%.
Oh,
It must have been. I got this from the wiki. I don't know what to say. So I guess it updated to 90%. Well, either way.
well, I that's what I had on the wiki. But...
It says 80% on the sub-wiki. The backup that is. So, but it says 90% on the main wiki.
All right. Something,
Yeah.
So
something
that
updated
probably
to
means that that's actually 90% because the sub wiki you have to manually update it. Like you actually have to push a button.
Oh, I
So
see.
they probably did update it 80 to 90%.
Probably hotfix it
Okay,
or something.
I kind of
in the
take back my
meantime.
point then, but still, it follows that principle
Okay.
of having most of your damage guaranteed, and then you need to do a bit of extra work for them to work at their full potential. Although Bay Bunyan's even worse in that respect because he has 80%, you need 90% with skill seeding, and you need another 10% through like Kulebe or something like that. Which is
Holding out for skill blossoms.
anyway.
Break the bank even more.
Well, Akiha is cute, so it might be a good choice. Don't know.
No.
Anyway,
Oh, I actually remember what I wanted to say. It was basically, when I looked at his kit for the first time, I thought he was basically 5-star Christmas Kalki. That's it.
oh yeah, he has like a bunch
can
of
say
buffs
that.
thing, doesn't he? On Transient or whatever.
Yeah, but he removes everything on turn start.
Yeah, he's like definitely different, but he was just kind of like, what if I wanted to make Christmas Kalki, but like justifiably a 5-star?
Is
And
Kalki,
you basically get this.
is his buff rates consistent? I forget. To himself?
No,
No,
Oh, okay, never mind.
no,
No.
but
you have to like
It-
spin
it-
to win. But yeah,
yeah.
Okay, the Kalki resource booster support idea is dead then. Forget it. But you're right that he vaguely is similar to him being a snipe range column player. With that said, I think that's all our thoughts for this unit. So, simple but clean is the way it's supposed to be. Go ahead, Irby, and read out the comments.
No, not the simple and clean. Where were we again?
I feel like we're gonna say that every single 30 minutes. Let me look.
No, TLDR, it's complicated. Hot Boy Summer. Hello 5-star Otohime. Also still can't handle his alt skin. Yes, he's literally stripping. Akiha and Kato, my boyfriend, says Prisma, after donating something that I don't know what it is.
Thank you for the
Or
209.
at least I think that's what it means.
Yeah, it's translated in the what's it called, the overlay in the actual stream. It's shown in the original.
If I had saved, he's the only reason I'll roll DC because I love him. Oh right. Also, Zoe said you will not out-donate me, and he donated $3.99. And I don't know the conversion rates, but I'm gonna assume it's higher because the number is higher.
Thank you, Joe.
Joe, stop spending your revive stone money. Seeing Summer Akiha made me regret pulling for the Fashionista banner.
Oh, don't forget to look at live chat,
Theo
not top chat.
Anderson. Oh, maybe I missed something. Let me check.
Yeah, it skipped the keyboard mashing, but it's fine.
No, I already said that one.
Oh, okay.
I said those, and then I said Zoe's donation because it was continuation. Did it for FZAB, but was lucky and cleared the spanner too. Hey, congrats. Listen to Jello, to be honest. How lucky. This one's for the summer seas, but it's on move.
That's
yes,
probably an
the
AR
AR.
name, but I don't
I
even
think
remember
it's
what
the
it
name
was.
of the AR. Yeah, I think it's the the burn strengthening AR that I was talking about with Surtur and Anbari, maybe. I don't know.
Imagine remembering
Yeah,
AR
it's
names.
but not
burn
burn strengthening.
resistant. It's the burn resistance AR, yeah.
Yeah, the burn resistance one. Yeah, it's only 50%, but he can equip it. Self-sufficiency. Akiha said, "Bang bang." Christmas Jiraiya still feels like the better snipe unit. I don't even remember his kit.
I never want to use
only
Christmas
unit.
Jiraiya. He's the one who depletes his own HP every time he attacks, and it's like it's problematic because he only has his crit plus when he's above a certain amount of HP. So it's like I don't know. I feel like he'll always.
Doesn't he also get something when he's really low HP as well? He
Yeah,
just
but
has
that's
this,
like a
massive
huge amount
gap.
of. Yeah, it's like what are you gonna do during the period of time? That's why I never want to use Jiraiya.
I would judge if I had him and didn't clear the whole banner except for him. Just Sedge.
Is it really sad?
Be a Chad and use both. The point isn't about being efficient, it's about sending a message. The inefficient message. You'll miss out on Otohime's skill lock though, which I value more if available, but he has bind.
That's true.
Akiha has bind. I did say it. So you're not missing out. I guess you're missing out on the CS lock because she has double lock instead, I think. But still, you're not missing out on the skill locking part of the kit. It's still there, and I think Akiha's is actually more accurate than Otohime's too. Still missing Hecate 4-star. True. Oops, probably missed most of the stream because I was distracting playing RCT.
Possibly a roller coaster
When
pick.
you walk away.
Oh no,
Oh.
Irby, vocals, do it, sing
No,
it.
no, I'm not gonna do it. When you walk away, you don't hear me say, "Imagine trying to be the top donator." Smirk. Hidden
not how I
says
remember
as he
the
donates
top, though.
$9.99.
Thank you for the 999 hidden, much appreciated.
Thank you for the 9 hours, 9 person, 9 doors.
Yes, thank you
Wow.
for the 0
The
time.
transient, the transient stones I can buy with those donations. I don't think you can buy enough for a multi with these donations. I'm sorry to inform. Just rob a bank. Oh, I was talking about Christmas Jiraiya, lol.
I see. Okay,
Yeah, that's fair. Just rob a bank.
well said, well said. Always trust Irby's advice. Rob a bank, everyone. Actually, got one more comment. Go ahead and then we can move on.
Since Akiha has Charm Awakening, the Baby R would be useful for him to avoid Charm. Missed the stream, so I don't know if you talked about that. No, I did not talk about it because his Charm Awakening is a joke. He only loses like 600 HP every turn. So, I don't think it's particularly useful to avoid the Charm Awakening, but more so to avoid the Charm itself. And I don't think he can equip it either, so...
He cannot, because if he could equip it, he would be the best. Right
Yes,
in that time.
yes.
But he can't, so just bring Babe instead, because Babe is more practical.
How do we have so
Yeah.
much charm effects or
You can-
charm-related effects for this banner when no one has charm?
There is no Charm. It's from Fashionista Charm effects.
Fashion
Well, I
is
think-
It's all because of
leaking.
It's all because of Suzuka. It's all because of Suzuka. She brought the charm meta back into the game.
I think for Akiha, it's just a lore reference, as is many of these weakening type skills. Something about I forget. I did remember reading something in his bio about attracting people, or not.
Oh, I thought
Yes,
it
it
was
makes
because
sense.
of like Ulan Bator.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense
charm.
because Ulaanbaatar negates this is burn thingy entirely
Okay.
because he has the burn resistance too.
Yeah.
Makes
Oh,
sense.
I was talking about the stationary charm thing.
Oh.
That like really forgettable part. So he's like weak to his like I don't know, his charm or something like that.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
pretty weird.
Moving on.
No comment.
We are done talking about Akiha. I will just read those remaining comments in the next batch. So the next topic we'll be talking about is Catoblepas. This will be handled by Zalgus. Go ahead.
I thought you were going to read the comments.
We did.
Or do you mean I'll read them in the next batch?
Yeah. There's like only two anyways. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. So, Catoblepas, have you switched the... Oh wait, no, my stream paused. There we go, that's better. Right, so Catoblepas, he is our next column clearer. Wow. So, first of all, I would like to point out that Catoblepas looks like a completely different unit from his base version. His muscle definition is completely different. He doesn't look like he's ludicrously ripped now. Instead, he just looks like he's, decently toned. But anyway, so we have another shot unit who deals fair damage, although compared to the previous two, Catoblepas has a fair share of problems, which makes him pretty impractical compared to someone like Babe. But yeah, so we'll start off with the less interesting stuff again first. He gains Spirit Strengthening when he appears permanently, which adds 1,200 flat damage to Spirit's damage. Or Spirit already has flat damage, so that brings it from 800 flat damage to 2,000 flat damage, which is alright, I guess. He pierces evasion, which is always nice. We don't get too many of those, although we have gotten a few recently, like Ulan Badar and Tadatomo 5. He gains CP before being hit at a 90% rate, which is pretty high, so he'll probably be getting his CS often. Or he might, it depends on if you actually let him get hit or not. He has immunity to Curse and Bind, always nice to have. They're common, they last a fair amount of time and they reduce damage, and Bind of course is very debilitating. Phase Start, Spirit, and Spirit every 3 turns. So that's to go with his Spirit Strengthening. Since it's phase start turns, or since it's phase turns for the Spirit every 3 turns, Catoblepas can be left without Spirit for a turn if he already has Spirit when the phase begins, because then he won't give himself Spirit. The turn will pass, and then on turn 2 he'll have nothing. But I mean, you're just losing out on. I mean, you're losing out on 2k flat damage, which could be important, I guess. But whatever. When appearing Guts, sure, whatever. I guess you can get some CP out of it, maybe. I don't know why it's when appearing, but okay. So, right. So let's talk about his attack kit now, and talk about some of the problems he has. So he has Ardor to self and allies when attacking at 90% rate. 90% rate is very good, but because it's on attack, it means he sucks as a support slot unit, which is a big shame, because if he was a better unit, I would use him instead of Tindalos. He's not. So he has this unique skill where he bestows enemies with a skill that causes the enemy to give out attack up when struck at a 100% rate. So the enemy will give attack up to whoever is attacking them. So while this sounds like it might be good at first, it's held back by a few things. So first of all, the skill that is granted applies attack up after being hit. This means that the attacking unit doesn't actually get the benefit of the attack up for the unit being hit. So, whoever you're attacking isn't actually going to be taking that 2.2 times damage. So that sucks. And secondly, the range that it gives it out in is kind of unwieldy. I didn't bother making a graphic for this, but it's a slash range 1 square up. So imagine like the middle row of a magic range. So that itself has a few problems. As a column clearer, Catoblepas probably wants to be up front, which means that he's going to be applying his debuff to the second row. So this means that you're not going to be getting the benefit of attack up until the third enemy row for turn 1. So that already sucks. But if you wanted to try and get around this a bit by having Catoblepas start in the back row so that he applies his debuff to the front row, that has anti-synergy with his Ardor, because then he's going to be in slots 3 or 4, and so you have 2 units who aren't getting Ardor from him. So this makes Catoblepas' use as a turn 1 buffer kind of terrible, because you either take the attack up or you either take the Ardor, which, I mean, in all honesty, I'd just go for the Ardor and have Catoblepas in an early slot, because attack up lasts a while anyway. So, but Yeah, so I really don't like the anti-synergy. I don't know what they're thinking with that attack up granting buff. It's like if it were before being hit, it would make more sense, but as it stands, it's just kind of this annoying to use buff that, like, to play around you would need to basically play suboptimally, so at that point you may as well not even bother playing around it. Oh yeah, also he gives himself acceleration at 100% rate when attacking, so he'll generate CP at a decent rate. His CS just gives himself vertical movement expansion and crit at short range, so there's nothing too interesting there. Really don't have anything to say about that. Yeah, there really isn't anything to say about that. As far as ARs go, I pretty much didn't even bother looking up any. I don't think there's any that he would exceptionally synergize with. Maybe you might want more CP gen if you, for some reason, want him to CS. But besides that, yeah, nothing there. That's pretty much all I have to say about him. He's compared to Babe or Aki, he's just really awkward to use, such that I wouldn't even really consider him for column clearing, even if I did have him. Pretty much the only reason I would want him right now is just because he would make the farm quest easier. And that's all.
Is that it?
Yes, that's all.
Alright. Any other thoughts? Milk? Irby?
I think it's funny that his fire element, while he's supposed to be a lifeguard, I don't know, it's just weird. Just why is he fire element? Who knows?
Because he's hot, obviously. There you go, obvious joke.
Yes, of course, that makes sense. But yeah, in terms of the kids, I mean, it's good that he's another buffer that doesn't need to move, but the fact that his other buff that isn't Ardor, which already is in all units, almost I'm not going to say all units, but there's already a lot of Ardor buffers that don't need to move to bestow Ardor to the rest of the team and themselves. Even Ben 10 does that, the Christmas Ben 10 one. So I don't see the fact that the attack up is on that very awkward range and it is after attacking. It's just very off-putting because he's supposed to be the primary buffer of the team, but also he's not even that much better of a buffer than Babe Bunyan on the quests, because his attack up isn't even going to be up for most of the units. So that's in phase 1 for sure. So yeah, I think it's pretty weird. But I guess he's a 4-star. We've had a worse event 4 stars, and this one isn't that bad in comparison to others we got.
Christmas Ose.
So my thoughts are that if he can big brain around the attack up, then it's fine. But if he can't, then he's kind of shit. Also, he still does not look like a bull at all.
That is true.
He still looks kind of more canine.
It looks like he was redrawn by someone who was commissioned on Fur Affinity. Just the face. I don't know how to describe it, but it's a lot more twink-like compared to the rest of his body. Whereas before, I guess he had like
that's always been the case with him. To be honest,
I don't know.
It's always looked photoshopped on.
His face always looks photoshopped. Yes.
Looks almost vaguely like a Seattle mascot.
I mean, I do actually like his body more here than in his regular version, because I think his regular version, the body drawn there actually looks really kind of ugly.
Very anatomically detailed,
excessively muscular.
Yeah, the clothing don't fit very well in those cases. But in this one, it stretches fine enough. Or it's just a better fit in general. Did you have any other thoughts, Milk, or was that it?
Your voice cut out there.
Yeah.
Yes, you're cutting.
Am I cutting off still?
Yeah.
How's my voice? Is it still cut off or is it fine?
It's fine now.
Okay.
We just missed the punchline for your joke.
Oh, did I make a joke? Sometimes I spit jokes without realizing. My bad. Did you have any other thoughts, Milk?
Oh, no. Pretty much everybody is just talking about his bulge, I guess. That's it.
What, in the comments?
No, I mean like about the unit in general and not his kit.
Well, I mean, like his kit is pretty simple. It's just a stupid attack up, really, and I've already given my thoughts on that, and I think it's terrible.
Okay.
I can't believe he power cracked Tangaroas.
It's tenacity strength thing. Yeah, that fucking shit. I think my thoughts on this unit is I agree most with Milk in terms of what he said. If you can get attack up, it's good. If not, it's shit. And I do think Zalgus, what's it called? Your point on what's called Ardor and attack up not really working isn't necessarily true, because you can have him spawn in like what's called the back, but then move him to the front. Of course, he'll miss out because of turn order of shooting, but he can still give it eventually on the same turn. You can give it. You can make use of both attacks buffs, but as I hinted at earlier before, you actually need to know what the quest composition is, where the enemies will be spawning, what the attributes will be, to best use Catoblepas. Because I do think he actually does a lot, just kind of not consistently to a single purpose. Like he has that evasion piercing, so you don't need to bring Crispus Nomad, or at least not move him beside him. And he also has that extra bit of flat damage just in case. But he also gives buffs to allies left and right of him, as well as that attack up, and he does decent damage on his own as well. So he does like a lot. It's just that there's a lot of conditionals, and a lot of things don't really work on the same condition as each other. So to best use them, you actually just need to know the quest composition and how to best move Catoblepas in response to that. And of course, he won't work with every quest as a result. But I do think that might be intentional by Life Wonders in terms of their design of making comm clears that can do a bunch, but they won't necessarily work for every quest, and you need to have like intimate like quest composition knowledge. But yeah.
If you have Catoblepas in the back line for the thing, then the allies are only going to be taking advantage of Ardor every other turn, which I don't think is very optimal.
It might not be, honestly, but it might work if you're bringing a snipe composition, which could work with units like Akiha and Otohime, I guess. There's options, right?
Wow.
I actually have Catoblepas in the back, like as you mentioned, because as people have mentioned, Ardor is so common that maybe it isn't so much of an issue. So yeah. So it's a bonus, and in reality, it's the attack up that's the main buff, and the Ardor is just the side buff, despite the consistency and the ease to reach it. And last thought is he is fire type, so that means he can bring the Blossom boosters. So that really is confirming that this is the Calm Clear banner meant to just add to the general pool of units that can function to deal with tall maps for Seed and Blossom quests. But yeah.
Yeah, but Babe can equip.
There are no tall quests.
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
who knows? Chapter 13 Copium. I don't know. We'll see.
Are they all like wide and giant?
They're wide and big maps.
Oh, chapter 14, just wait. Also, you can farm level 1 blossoms in the chapter 12 quests. There you go. Hey,
also,
it's an option. You're doing it. What's up?
Babe can equip the LA Tsukuyomi AR, can't he?
He can, but you know, eventually people will just want to move to blossom farming in general. Babe cannot equip the blossom booster. That's only for fire and nether.
Oh well. You know, I was talking all about his column clearing, and I forgot to actually mention his damage. It is assuming he has his attack up, so it won't apply for the first unit. He hits at least. It will be 13.5k damage, including his spirit strengthening. So, not nearly as explosive damage as Babe.
Yeah, he's more of a supportive auxiliary column clear than a main column clear. So it's interesting that Life Wanders is adding subcategories of this new feature, I guess. It's not just you're a column clear or you're a buffer. Now there's different what kind of column clears are you. But yeah, that's all my thoughts on this. You are free to read out the comments if that's it then. It's not this.
Yeah, he can't even use the AR. Oh, that's Akiha. I hate this banner because I got everyone but Vapula when I just wanted him. I wanted just him and Babe. Well, at least you got the limited Babe, and you can, if you really want to, you can get Vapula at Anniversary, or if you're lucky, you'll get him before that. He's the guy you bought. Wow, those are some clean columns. Yep. Vapula you can get with the plat ticket, yeah. Hey, sorry for missing this stream. Hey, Maple. Irby, are you saying Kato got fatter? /J. Well, he got less muscular, definitely. But I think it's better like that his muscle is drawn less realistically. But still, you can still see he's got some definition. Dad bought True Prisma. I guess I'm going to be using all the plat tickets for characters I was planning to finish blossoming Goemon. Buying blossoms at Anniversary. Don't know about that. So that explains all the vertical stages. Yeah, this is definitely a banner where if they had made the traditional wide and tall maps, then the wide maps would be a massive headache because we don't have any wide slash units or even slash units, and the only unit who has any width in their attack is Tindalos, who does negative damage, as we've already discussed. Or we haven't discussed, rather, but we've mentioned it. I think he's a pretty mid unit, and I'm still unnerved by his design. That's just the evil eye getting you. Vapula looks ugly. I'm sorry. I think he looks okay, but I did think he looked strange when I first saw him. It's okay he's not as ripped because they gave him a bulge. Life Wonders. True. They dare get on me for getting asked blossoms on the Anniversary era. I'm too lazy to grind them myself. I mean, he didn't say anything, but I did. Do you have anything to say about that, Aaron?
Yeah, I agree with Zelgus in terms of don't get blossoms for Anniversary, but then again, Irby is one of those people that did get them and all that. It really depends on what you prioritize, but my personal opinion is they are a waste and a scam, and just grind instead. Coin might be better in general, yeah.
Spirit this, spirit that. Can someone just spirit me away already? You should watch Spirited Away. I say that despite not having watched it.
It's good though, you should watch it.
I know. Rude Vapula is really cute. Nothing but facts. Summer Catoblepas needs a buff, and he just came out. I mean, I don't know if I would go so far as to say that. He's not awful, but...
He's just awkward to use optimally.
I wouldn't even say awkward to use, I would say it's impossible to use him optimally, which I guess would, in theory, just make it so that the optimal usage is something else instead. But anyway, like regular Nobuharu with his face start range for vigor. Start range for... Oh, the units in front, where he has to be positioned behind everyone. He is eye candy unit. Yeah. He's fire element because it matches his shirt. Yeah. Summer Catoblepas is definitely a C to D plus unit. He has decent stats, at least if you're a new player. I don't know if I would rate him so poorly, but yeah, I definitely wouldn't say he's up there. Hi again, I left and then came back. Hello. 5-star art with a 3-star kit, therefore 4-star. If a 3-star had this sort of kit, I would much appreciate that, because I've previously discussed this, but 3-stars who give 2 attack buffs are far and few between. I can think of maybe 5, so yeah, that would actually be nice. Ara is accurate about his FA joke, but it was wrong of him. How can his nose look so twink but so Bara at the same time?
Yeah, it's something about the
nose.
I guess the ooh mouth in combination with his body. It's bizarre.
I guess. That's all of Wasp's art, TBH. I don't really follow Wasp's art, so Catoblepas is doing the impossible. My friend did get shocked from the ratio of his body and face in the regular version. Yeah, it looks pretty different. Chibi-like face with buff body. If they're just here right now. Oh, your friend. The myth is because of wildebeest sightings. What myth?
The myth of Catoblepas? I don't know.
Lamau, spirit strengthening. Yes, spirit strengthening. Or spirit is always a big meme. What are the chances Housamo goes full another Eidos E and adds an extra scene? I hope 0. He's a good backpack 4th unit in a Xmas Nomad comp. 2 magic units, Xmas Nomad, and Catoblepas is a lot of evasion pierce coverage. I hope you don't mean that Catoblepas is the 4th unit, because that would, like, quite possibly be the least optimal choice. Because now he's giving Arda to no one except himself. Yeah, well, giving the full duration Arda for no one except himself, but yeah, I'm sure he would work fine in a column clearing team. Why does he even get movement expansion if he doesn't need to move? Don't even think of it.
I feel like they just wanted to give someone vertical movement expansion, even though he doesn't really make use of it in the end. Because they already gave some people horizontal movement expansion, I believe, with what's called Israfil or whatever. So, oh yeah, and maybe Nomad.
I mean, yeah, but Israfil has the he has the advantage of having like double vertical expansion movement. Or
no, I'm just trying to say I feel like the Life Hunters was antsy to use it on someone eventually, even though it was completely unnecessary.
Why don't they just give him Omni movement? I mean, again,
he wouldn't
it's not
use
like
it either. It's
anyway.
like, who cares, right?
Yeah, so give him Omni movement. Yeah, I don't know why he has that. It's kind of whatever. Law or original kit reasons? I mean, his original kit had Omni movement too, but that's because he was rooted in place from the start of the fight. We have date quests, but I'm not sure if all will get one before the game ends. Don't say that. The game will last forever.
That's
Just
right.
like the loops. Guessing they'll do something about some of Catoblepas' movement on his Skivo, or something about lifeguards rushing in forward to help and shrugging emoji. This unit just released and we're already talking about skill evolutions. There's so many banners that haven't gotten skill evolutions, like...
And I do agree with Irby that
Valentine.
this isn't... The units aren't bad. They're just, you know, so simple that you kind of don't want to pay attention to them. But they're pretty good, honestly. They're not, like, dominating, but they're solid additions.
Not every unit can be Summer Rolls or Valentine's, but oh. I was thinking he can replace my Night Glows, or almost said Nogos, break for my firing squad team. I'm interested in how he compares to Thunderbird. If you mean Vanilla Thunderbird, I don't know if you mean Vanilla Thunderbird or the other Thunderbird, because they're both pretty good at vertical damage. But I would say that at least Catoblepas is more reliable than Vanilla Thunderbird, and compared to, what was it, Summer Thunderbird, I guess he doesn't need to play around with pulling enemies here and there. But I'd say Catoblepas is probably the simplest choice, even if he has the weird attack up thing. That's the only thing I see TBH, why he has the movement expansion, then turned his charm to Arda, which is character development, sparkles, maybe. Spirited Away watch party soon, it seems. He really does look like a puppy with a way too buff body and horns, yeah. Oh, I mean like Catoblepas in the first slot and is used away from Nomad's 2 magic units groupies. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it could be right.
Like that. He might work with double hit unit. Oh yeah, I guess he would work with combo units. Although you're still only getting attack up for half the duration, but yes, I guess you could do that. Units not bad, just forgettable. Well, I mean, I like Babe, but yeah, I'm praying for no Goemon variant unit Christmas now. I don't even know who's coming Christmas. I haven't heard anything about that yet. Also, Halloween first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
The rumors are that we are actually receiving a Halloween event, which is surprising since usually it happens every 2 years. But enough rumor spreading. Let's move on to the next topic. since we are done reading comments. We'll now be discussing. Vapula. This will be covered by Irby. Go ahead. Irby?
I still pronounce it Vapula. It's really, really weird, but still. Yeah, this unit is a unit. I looked at his art and then looked at his kit, and yeah, this makes a lot of sense. In the sense that it's a complete disjointed mess that doesn't really work together, but still has some utility in there, and a new thing to work with as well. So basically, he has a few on-moving abilities, which I'll talk about now. So basically, after he moves, he has a 100% chance to apply paralysis and weapon change all to the enemy 2 squares away from him. Or basically, this if he was a magic unit, it'd be it'd be the center square basically. So yeah, this is the first time I think we can freely apply weapon change all to the enemies without needing a CS or something like that. So that's pretty nice. We can do it on demand, and it's 100% accurate. So that's pretty nice. It can have a lot. It can help a lot reduce the amount of damage that the enemies are going to deal to your team by just applying the paralysis and then applying the very weak damage multiplier that all range units have. And he also has the defense modifier that helps him take less damage from all ranged enemies. It's only 30% less, but it's still pretty decent. When he moves, he also applies this very weird gimmicky thing to his allies. Not his allies, but the ally directly in front of him. So basically, he applies this new buff that makes it so that when that ally dies, they bestow attack up and defense up to all allies on the board. So this is ideally used for sacrificial units. I think the intent behind this was to use it with the new dragon mob unit, most likely, because it was pretty much made to be sacrificed as well. This is all right, but I would have preferred that it also applied a healing effect to everyone else, but you can't get everything, I guess. Also, I forgot to mention, he does have increased horizontal movement and also tenacity to himself, so he's not going to... He's I wouldn't say super bulky unit, but he can take a lot of damage. And that's good, because he also has some skills that require him to get hit. So basically, he can apply freeze and reduce the CP to units that hit him, and all those adjacent to them. The freeze is only 70%, but the fact that it affects the enemies who are adjacent has the potential to trigger multiple times for the same enemy. So that's assuming he is hit that amount of times, that is. That's pretty nice. The CP reduction, however, seems very low, but it can still have its own use. And finally, also on move, something I forgot to mention, is that he can apply evasion pierce to allies left and right to himself, but this effect only lasts 2 turns. So you're going to want to ideally move him every 2 turns if you want to keep this pierce evasion up, which I really don't understand why he has it, because it does not fit anything else here, but it's an additional bonus that you get on moving, because as far as it goes, all these effects that he has on moving are incredibly situational and are going to require a lot of workarounds to make this semi-usable. I didn't talk about it, but his CS is basically just in a straight line. He applies bind and nullify debuff and berserk plus to enemies on himself, as well as healing himself. So that is his only form of sustain to keep himself alive. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think he's a pretty disjointed unit that doesn't have a particular purpose, but has multiple of them that seem very they don't seem very useful at a glance, but it does have some unique properties here that you can potentially take advantage of. I, for instance, thought about that weapon change all in that high difficulty quest. I thought of getting that on Enigma, but I immediately saw that didn't work. I wanted to get everyone to get weapon change all and then use Taishak 10 to alongside him keep giving that all range resistance, but sadly they did not have that skill to absorb the weapon change all, and also they dealt no damage, so already without the paralysis and the weapon change also, that was pretty disappointing. As far as ARs would go, I would recommend the Alice and Volos AR again, primarily because his rates are pretty underwhelming, especially for the freeze, which is probably his only method of increasing the damage for your team. But yeah, I don't have a lot of thoughts on this unit. I think it's a pretty shit unit, but it does have unique properties to it.
Alright, is that all your thoughts then?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think, Zalgus, Milk?
Okay, I'll guess I'll go first this time, because last time you went first. Yeah, I don't really like this unit's design. I don't know, he just looks kind of messy. Does he have, like, no eyebrows, too? I think that's the main part that bothers me.
They're like thin
the
lines.
design of the eyes. They're like really thin eyebrows, right? It
Yeah.
kind of looks like
Just imagine his hat is his eyebrows.
Why would he do that?
Yeah.
Because if you look at his 3-star art, the head kind of looks like he has eyebrows on his hat.
Oh.
Yeah, to be honest, I've been trying to...
You're right. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. To be honest, I've been trying to think of like when I would ever use him, and I just don't know, to be honest. Like, I literally don't know. Like, I kind of like the fact that his freeze and CP drain is enemies directly adjacent, because that's kind of a big range, but I don't know, it's just like, when am I ever going to use this unit? I'm really pulling up blanks. I kind of like his CS because somehow I managed to pull 6 of this guy, so maybe I can get like a good Berserk Plus rate from that. And my last thing, I guess, is that the only thing that I found interesting was that his Pierce Evasion was on his 3-star, and his 3-star didn't have the all-range thing. I guess that's like supposed to be his main gimmick, but it's just such a weird design to me. That's basically it.
As a resident 3-star man, I will say that I didn't take too close a look at his 3-star initially, but now that I look at it, it's actually quite interesting. In terms of 3-stars, Paralysis is kind of far and few between. The only one who really inflicts it reliably is like Lucifuge and below. So Vapula being able to do it so effectively is pretty great. Like 90% rate, that's very nice. And he also gives evasion penetration. Like, the fact that most of his kit is pretty much intact is nice, actually. All the rates are pretty much the same. The only thing he's missing is his horizontal movement and his weapon change, which, I mean, honestly, it's actually an option.
He's also missing the adjacent freeze.
Oh, is it? Yeah, it's just the hit units. But yeah, as far as I think it's quite nice that if you have the option, if you don't want the all range thing, to just use 3-star Vapula instead, which I think is neat. So I might get some mileage out of him, but only because I decided to use 3 stars. For his 4-star, yeah, the kit just seemed very all over the place, like everyone else says. Like, I don't know the use cases really for inflicting all range on enemies, so, or I can't really think of that many that would be that significant. Sorry, I let go of the button by accident.
Okay.
So yeah, I think he's okay, but as a 3-star I like it, but as a 4-star, nah.
Oh wait, I remember the use case of the all range thing. Irby, did you mention it with the Soul AR, the real to Soul AR?
No, I didn't mention, but that's
the 0.6 all range resistance. Yeah.
Wow! Finally, we can use that AR now. Yes, I can't believe I forgot about that. Thank you, Milk.
Oh my god, how do you even remember that shit? Whatever. Okay, well, if that's all your thoughts, I'll just add my own 2 cents. This unit, I think the reason why you're unsure of how to use him is because he plays a new role that no one really has before, or at least not so exclusively like this. He makes people sacrifices, so of course that's exactly what his last skill does, but as a result, the units exactly built like Sand Dragon would be best with them, because they're meant to die already, and if they die, then they give some more buffs. You may also want to pair him up with other units with effects to allies, such as Christine on departure gives Glint and 50 CP, or Babe Bunyan with Vigor, as you mentioned, or Baron, I guess. You might also want to do something that inflicts something to enemies, such as Mephistopheles, the countdown to all enemies, or Marduk, which removes all buffs and does massive HP depletion, or Hauling Police Toji with double lock to the entire board, or Tanatoma with countdown and shot range, or Trooper with paralysis. So there's a bunch you could do there for sacrifices, but even without sacrifices, he actually does mitigate damage an extremely large amount with paralysis, but also with weapon change all. So just to clarify...
also with what? You cut out there.
Was weapon change all.
Okay, just making sure.
So I was just saying... Sorry, you cut off my train of thought. You're in my groove. Weapon change all. For those that don't know, all weapon types have a penalty to them. They don't explain it. I wish the game would explain it explicitly, but essentially, the attack stat corresponds to a certain amount of damage you'll do, but that damage is first filtered through a weapon type penalty. And the below range has the lowest, or rather the neutral penalty of a 1 times multiplier, so it doesn't affect it. If you have a below range unit, your damage is just your attack stat. But for units like with all range, the penalty for an all range weapon is actually 0.1 times. So if you're moving from blow to like all range with Vapula, or even any other type, such as shot from 0.45 to 0.1 to all range, that's like reducing damage by 4 times. Either way, the damage is so reduced with both paralysis and all range, and also with tenacity, that you could go along and build a team that is designed to just be hit a lot. So units that benefit from being hit, not necessarily dying as outright sacrifices, but have special effects whenever they're hit, such as effect to self with Oguchi Megami bestowing tenacity, 16 CP, brawn, and attack up whenever he's hit, or Howling Police Azuthos, which gives himself attack up in Brawn, or regular Oz, even with Berserk and Brawn. Yeah, he might be relevant now that Vapula exists. His main problem is just, getting hit is not usually good, but Vapula makes it a bit more reasonable. There's also other effects to enemies that you can do whenever they're hit, such as Takamina Kata with Bind, Boogeyman with Curse and CP Steal. You'll have to type with this Evo with Dazzle and Fear, or Kantanka Mugen with pushing the units back. Regular Smoky God with Dazzle and HP depletion. Nodens with Paralysis. Regular Kushi with Countdown. Necros and Bacchus with Countdown. Valentine Leaks with Weakness. Tanatoma with Bind and Charm. Horus with Stigma. Kanan Kijimuna with Break and Bind to the enemies who hit, as well as their collaterals beside them. Regular Maria with Stigma and Skill Lock. Behemoth with Break. Sats with Skill Lock. And regular Fenrir with Bind. So there's a lot that have been designed to be hit, and I feel they're not oftentimes relevant just because you don't want to get hit. It's usually too much of a sacrifice to do that. But I feel like Vapula makes enough of a cushion that it starts not to matter. And because the weapon changes up to the expand range is also relevant, you don't have to worry about positioning them to get hit. They're gonna hit everyone, and so they can trigger their effects no matter what at that point. And lastly, I'm surprised none of you mentioned this, but there is a meme where this all-range weapon change lasts for 3 turns. So as a matter of fact, you can steal it back and it'll last for a while with someone like Goemon or regular Aegir or Hote. So
don't mention, because no one was ever going to do that.
Poor man's Summer Oz.
Okay, well the plus side is you don't have to.
Why would anyone do that?
I don't know. It's not everyone has Summer Oz, right? So more options for all range could be neat. Yeah, and it's 3 turns, so
their loss.
Alright. But yeah, that's besides.
I guess you could use it to pass around the all range attack constantly in your silly team, but doing all range in a team like that seems pointless. Like Tangaroa and Izamna.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you have to use Vapula, Izamna, and Kanen Tangaroa, and they all have all range, and you have to use like one of those 3 that you mentioned.
Well, you
or
don't have to do that either, because you can just keep on stealing it, because Vapula can just keep on reapplying weapon change all, so you don't have to force yourself to a buffer refresher setup to just maintain all range, right? And again, not just Goemon can steal it. There's also units like Oguchi Magami who can steal just by being hit, which is interesting. But I think one of the most interesting things, or units that could steal it, is a 5-star Daikoku who steals all buffs every 2nd turn. And he actually does a bunch of different effects whenever he starts attacking, which normally you have to move him for. But if you remember, I believe it's something like a Skill Lock and Curse or something like that. So could be good, especially with Daikoku, I think.
Yeah, that's a pretty good use case. Yeah, so the main thing that I felt like that why it was kind of all over the place is that I kind of feel like this all range is kind of counterproductive to this sacrifice sort of thing. So yeah, so it's just like I can kind of see what he's like solving, but he's kind of like the solution to a problem that doesn't really exist.
You're right on that, and Irby touched on that point earlier. He does a bunch of things, but they're not really consistent. I think what the consistent thing here is the lore, because he seems to be someone who makes statues, which is either makes statues to be sacrificed of your allies or statues of the enemy so that they can't move anymore as paralysis, and just kind of glares everyone down with all range attack. It kind of hurts his consistency of usage as a result, but he does either role fine. They don't necessarily get in the way of each other. It just makes it kind of confusing of when to decide to use them. Those are all my thoughts, by the way. Any other thoughts? No? Okay.
No.
Well, that's it.
Where were we again?
You can read the comments, Arby.
I don't know where we were though.
Let's see.
Christmas. Were we on He Looks Weird?
Something like that, yeah.
Probably. Okay. Pura. I don't know what Pura means, but. Pura.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I'm
think it's
literally at
porting of his name.
oh. I'm literally at stones and coins, at 0 stones and coins, so I'm hoping for no variant or any entertainers to release anytime soon. I gotta have them all. Rude, he looks cute. Vapula time, oh, I guess I'm going back to grinding weeklies for tickets and saving stones. Ever hear of jinxing? Now all of the units you say you don't want to be released are going to be released next banner, and that's 5 stars. No, they aren't, I'm sorry. The next event is entertainer-centric Halloween events. It's not. Vapen. Vapen, yes. Vapen, yes. Stop. No entertainers, please. Oh, also Naval. Christine, Lianan, and going on Halloween variant confirmed. Airbrushing all belly button sprites. Sorry, Oz is still the cutest lion. Honestly, I look at this unit and I don't even see a lion anymore on his 4-star. I don't even know what I'm looking for. Vapula for me, per the way I see it, Vapula is meant to be multi-purpose since he has multiple grimoires to use as essays, so take it as him using whatever he has at hand to work with.
That's an interesting perspective. Didn't realize that.
What is the all-range change? Reverse Summer Oz. Maybe pairing him with someone to steal it would be useful. Go him on. He really gives me early unit energy. That self-tenacity after moving especially gives me that feeling. Yeah, to be honest, his kit seems so disjointed that it actually looks like an old unit. Gameplay-wise, Vapula is used to in whatever role you need him for in quests. It comes at the price of having no consistency, but he can fulfill roles in a party where you don't have a proper replacement. I don't actually agree with this because the price is not having consistency. The price is also not having a clear solution to the quest either, because his use cases are very limited.
I think he fits
relevancy.
I think he fits in the usage case of challenge quest meme. Honestly,
even then, you'd probably need to use him with the units you mentioned, with the after hit effects, stuff like that, probably. But even then, I feel like he's not a must-have for those either, or a unit that you should use with them, because they usually already have tools
to
help them with
mitigate damage and all that.
So.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an option. I don't know.
This kit can be really compared to sand, smushed. 3-star looks like a Danganronpa sprite character. Now that you said it, it really is. He looks like that one character for Danganronpa, the first one. That comment dealt me psychic damage. Don't bring Danganronpa into this. Nick. Yes, I don't know how to pronounce the actual. This is more of an animator than an illustrator, yes. Maybe that's why his eyes look kind of weird and square.
Pretty sure it was an illustrator.
Artist, whatever, could have done a better. Yeah, I have no idea who this artist is, but sure. I believe you are. Could have done better with the design. Oh well. His eyes are actually Zhurong's eyebrows. I just realized that when leaving buff applies to self as well. Yes, that is pretty weird. Yes, I only learned about weapon type modifier from the wiki. On leaving would be a really cool meta if there were units that you could swap with your reserve units, similar to the plug suit in FGO that lets you do that swap. But that Life Wonders has the coding architecture ready for something like that. So not Chen Gong, instant death. No Chen Gong abuse. Another chub. I see an obese cat. Belly. Vapula. Apple bottom jeans. Boots with the fur. Whatever. I'm guessing that's a song or whatever. Or meme song. So that's the new unit's name is in English. Vapula. The artist specializes in fat furries.
Yeah,
yes, I believe that.
Okay.
And those are all the comments.
Thank you for...
I actually need to be right back, so I'm going to miss part of the Tindalos, so...
Oh. Okay, well, thanks for joining us so far. But yeah, you can hop in whenever you want again. Hopefully you can join us for conclusion. But yeah, we will now move on to the next unit. This is also the last topic of this discussion. So we will now talk about Tindalos. This will be covered by Milk Osano. Go ahead. Oh, and let me know when you want me to cue in the slide that you gave me.
Oh, you can just cue it in now.
Gotcha.
So Tindalos is a tank. His main feature is this graphic that I made, in which that he can apply 3 different ways of defending your team. The first is tenacity and protection. It's centered around this vertical column around himself. So ideally you would want your allies to be there if you want double protection in that sense. And he can apply buff reversal to enemies in magic range. So that's another 4x, like basically a quarter attack, right? So basically enemies deal 1/4 of their damage than they usually do. And he actually activates this buff reversal automatically by applying taunt resistance to enemies on the entire board. Okay, so people are talking about a 5% damage reduction. So what that means is that if you take into account tenacity, protection, and buff reversal, this multiplies all of the enemy's damage by 0.05. So that's what people mean by this 5% damage mitigation. So it's really a lot of damage reduction. So yeah. So he's also has the highest HP stat in the game, and he's also Valiant element. So he's an incredibly good tank. He has extra horizontal movement, and he has taunt to himself. So these are all good tanking abilities. The main problem with him as a tank is that he doesn't really have healing, a way of sustaining himself or healing. His CS gives skill lock to the enemies and applies unction to himself and allies. So there's some small healing from unction, but it's not a lot. So that's his main problem, I think, in terms of like tanking, is that he doesn't have a way of like really reliably self-sustaining himself. And ARs aren't really too helpful. Like they can help, but there isn't like a big main one that can just obviously solve that problem. Okay. So outside of that, the other half of the coin is that he applies flat damage strengthening to enemies in a 3x3 box around himself. So what this does, so this status is from Halloween Kushi. So this triples the flat damage given by end of turn status effects. So Summer Tindalos applies a bunch of debuffs such as Fatal Poison, Craziness, and Burn after being hit. And this flat damage strengthening allows Fatal Poison and Burn to chip the enemy more and more. This flat damage strengthening does not apply to Craziness, because Craziness' flat damage is more akin to Spirit, and I've tested it and it does not apply to Craziness. So it's only Fatal Poison and Burn when it comes to this flat damage strengthening. So yeah, the idea is basically that if you're just like running Summer Tindalos by himself in a vacuum, you would just tank a bunch of times and you would chip the enemies to death. But that is very slow and very painful to do in practice, so I would not recommend doing that. And there's one last thing that I forgot to mention, is that he actually does a CP drain to enemies when he attacks them. So that's actually a nice way of potentially denying somebody's CS. It's not foolproof because it's only a minus 10 CP. So, but it can help delay things. And after being hit, he also gives CP to allies one square around himself. But it's somewhat unremarkable because there's already Sacrifice, which exists, and that was plus 16 CP allies adjacent to themselves. So it's somewhat of just like a side grade rather than a direct upgrade or something rather notable about himself on its own merits. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. He's just a very straightforward tank. I don't really like the fact that he doesn't have a source of healing as a tank, and that's probably his main issue when you decide to use him. There's some other issues that I think are kind of ignored in previous discussions or people commenting on him. And I think the main thing that surprises me is when buff reversal expires. As you know, you can't have 100 uptime on debuffs on enemies without using something like Zhurong or some other like mixture of debuffs. So when buff reversal expires, that so-called like 5% damage reduction jumps back up to 25%, or really like 20% damage reduction. So that can kind of catch you off guard a bit. The other thing is that I'm not really sure, like, I feel like there's a creative way of using him that comes from the fact that his tenacity and protection are rather far ranged. Like, it's easy to see that they overlap in the column around him, but it's actually kind of interesting to see that you can buff like all the way to the right. Well, not really all the way, but to the box to the right, in the vein of like Summer Arachne, and that I think can be used in some really elaborate taunt/stall strategy. The main thing is that taunt and horizontal movement are kind of extremely good. Well, not really extremely, but they're really good qualities for a tank to have, and Summer Tindalos having, you know, these double defensive buffs and taunt and horizontal movement, I think can open up some sort of like potential tanking strategies where he's just on one side of the board and the rest of your team, like I guess, I don't know, the hero or Isaac, are on the other side doing whatever stuff they're doing, while Summer Tindalos is just drawing all the attention. So those are the main things I wanted to mention. Okay, so now for unit synergies, I would say that because his flat damage stuff is largely unimpressive by themselves, I would pair him with countdown users like Necros or Kushi, maybe Balor or Valentine Balor, but Valentine Balor doesn't really care about Summer Tindalos' defensive buffs, but he's pretty tanky. But he's pretty tanky in itself due to like all his debuffs anyways. So like you can consider using those three and try to get that 60k countdown damage per turn. I would use Zhurong for him just because Zhurong can refresh buff reversal, and Summer Tindalos applies a bunch of debuffs already, so that's a bunch of flat damage that you can access. What else is there? I would pair him with healers. My go-to like list of healers would just be BBQ, Chernobog, Tomty, and Choji. Choji is nice because you have like a full skill level unction compared to Tindalos' regular unction. And I would also just pair him with people who want to get hit, just considering how impressive his how impressive his damage mitigation is. So you can pair him with I don't know, like Cannon Tangaroa, maybe like some exotic choices like Maria or Z's. I don't know. Sky's your limit for that, I guess. I guess a more recent example would be Vapula in this event, but you also have some moving things, so it's not the best synergy. Outside of that, for ARs, I would say you can really just choose anything that you want. You because a lot of stuff kind of fits him. I would choose the Anniversary AR for stats and the Phase Start healing. Is it the 4th Anniversary AR or is it the 3rd? I think it's the 4th.
Which
The
AR?
one with Solomon on the
With who?
a story that only exists now. The Little Solomon AR.
Oh,
The
that's the
anniversary one?
3rd anniversary one, isn't it?
Okay. Well, I don't remember the number, but you know, it's the one that almost everybody should have. Oh yeah, it's 3rd anniversary. Okay, good. So I would equip that for the Phase Start healing and the basically just the attack stat stick if you're doing like the farming quest with him. I don't know why you would want to do that, but you have to do that. The Kool-Aid AR because the free glint is always good. You can equip the Golan AR because he doesn't actually have debuff immunities, which really hurts him. Like he doesn't have fear resistance or break resistance, so you never know. Maybe the Golan AR will get you out of a situation. The Marcosius Tadatomo AR could be good if you want to just roll for a free crit. I won't really talk about the burn advantage from that AR because Summer Tindalos has like a 2k attack stat. So yeah, I would not really chase that. So you can also try the Bride Claude AR. I don't know, it's like a free HP CP. You can equip the Shuten AR for more consistency, and maybe even like the Kimun 4Q AR so that the other allies on your team heal Summer Tindalos more. So yeah, that's basically what I had.
Alright. Since Irby is temporarily absent right now, do you have any thoughts, Salgus?
No, I'll come back and delay me thinking of more things. So, besides my dislike for Tindalos, just because he makes grinding so goddamn slow because he's so weak. Yeah, I do think it's been a while since we had like such a he's really defensively focused, and he kind of, I don't know if we've really had a unit who can mitigate so much damage.
I think the best we usually get is just 2 defense, or rather 2 damage reducers, but not really up to 3, and not so consistently.
Yeah, there was like Jormungandr, but he was only to himself, so, and I think he takes like what 15% damage, and Tindalos reduces it to 5% damage, which is kind of absurd. But yeah, it's kind of like who's the age-old examples of units who buff defense on moves like Snow and Eisen 5, and I mean they have heals, but Tindalos just reduces the damage so much more. So I know we don't really have much room for defensive play these days, or you know, not as much attraction to it because you know people like to just blow shit up and get it over with. But yeah, I do appreciate him for just how ridiculously tanky he makes everyone. Or I also like his massive bestowal ranges for his tenacity and protection, since like it's always annoying in say a large map where everyone's spread, so you can't, you know, really get use out of certain debuff or buff spreads. But Tindalos doesn't really have that problem. I mean, you won't be able to get the entire benefit, but as long as you're not starting on complete opposite sides of each other, you should be able to at least get them tenacity or protection. So that's nice at least. But yeah. Also, something silly I noticed in this event, which, well, it's not really that relevant, but one of the better attacking units for this event is Nightmare Kuniyoshi. Except he actually has anti-synergy with Tindalos because he removes the taunt resistance buff, so that sucks.
He also has anti-synergy
yes, I noticed that.
with Tuscali Poka, his festival variant.
Oh yes, I recall reading I think it was like the WordPress reviews, talking about how like they don't know when taunt is ever really relevant on the enemies. Well, there are 2 real things, which is or I guess it's more than 2, but yeah, this has Festival Tezcatli Poker for our team. Festival Tezcatli Poker inflicts taunt and weakness in a 3 squares away and across for weakness. So, and he gains a advantage against taunt. So Tindalos will actually be completely anti-synergy for that. It would work against Halloween Alp and Virtual Summer Hombre Tigre, since they both have taunt strengthening of some kind. But yeah, outside of that, it's literally just a free buff to use. But yeah, I just thought it was funny and annoying that I needed to plan to keep Kuniyoshi away from Tindalos, or else he would ruin his damage. You know, the damage that he doesn't have.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just echo my overall thoughts because I haven't actually given my opinion of this kit. When I first read it, I didn't really like it because I don't like tanks at all in this game. In the sense that, it's good on paper, but I almost never use tanks, if I think about it, or just pure tanks. I can't remember the last time I used Festival Ryota. I can't remember the last time I've used regular Akiha Gongen. So it's kind of discouraging to me that this sort of kit exists when there isn't really a use case for this sort of extreme amount of tanking. Mainly because Life Wonders hasn't done survival quests in a while, I guess, or ones that are particularly difficult or hard to sort of warrant this sort of level of damage mitigation.
And also
maybe that'll change during this event.
Go ahead.
Oh, you can go. Okay. So maybe that'll change it during this event. And that might be copium on my part. Personally, I am hoping that there would be an enemy Tindalos who destroys everybody's Halloween Alp, but yeah.
Right, that would be
That's about it.
The perfect counter against Halloween Alp on the enemy side. Alright, so I kind of see where you're coming from in terms of they're not very used very often. And even when they are used in high difficulty quests, I mean, you only need to use them once ever, and then that's it. You don't need to replay high difficulty quests, unlike grind quests, which they just end up having a much more importance in terms of doing high damage.
You're cutting out again.
You cut out that. You said
Yeah.
importance. And
No.
Yeah.
Am I cutting out on your
Oh,
side,
sorry.
audience? I feel like my mute is out of sync between OBS and Discord, which is why you might be hearing me cut out when it should be fine on the audience side. Sorry about that, though. Let me just see my sound source. Speakers, and yeah, it should be fine. Anyways, I'll try to prevent myself muting while I continue on. Also, welcome back, Kirby. I'm kind of surprised, maybe I missed it, but you didn't mention the Guts Resistance AR to equip on Tindalos Milk? Because that just gives a buff, which will constantly activate buff reversal. So even if taunt resistance runs out, you can just keep on activating it with the Guts Resistance AR. And it'll be in range, right?
Well, yeah, I didn't mention it because, to be honest, it's just the problem that I have with the buff reversal isn't the fact that there isn't a buff to begin with. The problem that I have with it is that the buff reversal expires naturally.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
just maybe for
I'm
one turn, but yeah.
Well, it's noticeable when the enemy damage just pops up to 4 times than what you've been mitigating previously. And pretty much I always assume that the enemy has a buff of some kind. So yeah, it's not really too concerning to me to just have another buff like Guts Resistance.
I see.
But I guess you could do it.
Oh yeah, I'd recommend same thing as you would with Countdown and Zhurong. But yeah, there's also a bunch of dedicated healers you could do. I never really made a list like this before, because usually when I look for lists like that, I'm looking for tank/healers. But in this case, Tindalos' tanking and defensive support is so strong that he doesn't really need someone who can provide additional defense. So you could bring someone like Hecate, who actually does heal a bunch just by existing with love strengthening and her healing. Daikoku regular, like the protection will overlap unfortunately, but he does actually heal quite a substantial amount, along with Hercules 3. There's a Christmas Tetsuya who does a bit of healing, I believe, on is it turn start or phase start? I don't have him, so it doesn't.
I think it's turn start. It's turn start, but never use Christmas Tetsuya. I keep trying to shield him, but it never works.
Understandable.
Terrible. It's like the Christmas Oz, but from 2019.
I mean, he gives crit. Can't be that bad. Anyways, Azazel also heals every time he hits, or gets it. I forget which. I think it's every time he hits, I believe. Halloween Alice is actually a favorite of mine because she can give regeneration whenever she's hit to one square around her. And regeneration is fairly rare to give to allies in a, what's called, a reliable rate that's not just a base start. Regular Aziz, of course, with all that healing, and Akiha can steal a bit of that CP back after Aziz gives them CP. Then there is Chapter 7 Horkei Okami, although he's a move slot on his own. He actually does provide those debuff mitigation statuses, which are so important for Tindalos, because debuffs are actually pretty strong against him. As a look into that, he would be good with another unit like Jamboree Aizen, who removes 3 debuffs every turn to start. And he also gives adventines if you want to start stacking more, but he doesn't heal, so that's why I haven't mentioned him until now. And yeah, you can also bring Akiha Gongen's variant, since he actually heals that range in front of him without really trying at all. You don't have to move him, you don't have to touch him, he just has to exist at the end of the movement phase and then he heals. And then there's Gyobu. He gives regeneration to like units one square around him every time he attacks or something like that. So plenty of good dedicated healing options that normally you wouldn't think of, because usually you think about someone that has that in combination with defense buffs. But yeah, that's kind of all my thoughts on this.
Oh right, I was actually using him with a Bunyan's variant, and he kept saying his Totorida, like skill activation line.
Totorida.
Yeah. So that's another.
Oh right, because he heals every time he's buffed or something.
Healing. Yeah, after buff healing. Yeah.
Are they even?
So yeah, it's.
Are they even the same boosters for the same item?
Oh no, I was testing it out on was it Babel quest?
Oh okay.
So it was a different quest.
Gotcha.
Not the farming quest.
Okay, did you have anything more to say? Sorry.
Oh me? No.
Okay.
I don't have anything else to say.
Alright, that's fine.
I was
then.
waiting to see if Irby said anything.
Oh yeah, Irby. Yeah, you're back.
He popped in for a second, but
You have any thoughts on this kit?
okay, I guess he's.
It's okay. I don't have a lot of thoughts on this kit, but I guess the main thing that I find neat is that he has increased horizontal movement. Usually, things like these don't usually have it. A lot of times, not most of the time, but a lot of times they just don't have it, and it's very convenient to have, especially with the ranges, which is probably already said before, but I wasn't here. But other than that,
I forgot about that. In that case, you can always get to the other side to give them at least protection or tenacity. Then there is no case where you'll ever be able to not reach them. That's nice, actually. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. But other than that, yeah, the fact that his 2 buffs need to be, in order for those two defense buffs to be bestowed to other people, the fact that you need them to be up or down to get both is kind of a downside, in my opinion. But honestly, if you're using him, you probably already have a good team to position everyone correctly, and the horizontal movement is going to help him reposition everyone, since he's probably going to want to stay in the middle of everyone else anyways. So, it should be fine.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
The like Summer Oz Valentine Gumao vertical column formation isn't really something that I'm a fan of, because it's kind of weird to work around, rather than like just a straightforward, like one square round, like the square formation. So yeah.
I see.
No thoughts.
That's fine. Yeah, but just to reiterate before you read up the comments, Milk. Yes, this Tindalos does have the lowest attack stat. As you can see, he barely is breaking 2k for all 5 stars, across all 5 stars. He has the lowest, even if you decide to blossom him. And he has the highest HP out of all 5 stars in game. Well, only when he's blossomed, I believe. There might be some others that actually have a higher base amount. But yeah, with the right AR, you can break into 15k HP, which is kind of hilarious in a way. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this unit then. You are free to read out the comments, Milk.
Alp. Tindalos with that damage. Best unit of the batter, uncontested, totally not biased.
Of course.
Kirby never heard of getting low by Lowrider and T-Pain. Wait, I missed out on the last 3 units? Standard Tindalos, but magic weapon type. His Tindabros are very cute. Cute boy. I'll let you guys have my Tindalos. Tindalos. I forgot about Tindalos. Damn, no wonder why it was fast I got here since Vapula. There's a price to pay for being this thick. OMG, I have ideas. You mean beefy? That Townge. He said, tongue ice cream. It's like they turned an annoying JRPG boss into a unit. I don't know about annoying JRPG boss, I guess, maybe. I can see that. I didn't see Tindalos uses Fatal Poison, maybe it wasn't displaying. It's in his first skill. It's like one of his after being hit stuff. To be honest, it's not really like something worthwhile, because it's like yeah, like if you have Fatal Poison and Burn, is that like, I don't know, like 1k, around 1k flat damage and it triples? But it's just like, who cares about 3k flat damage every turn?
Hey, it's stronger than Spirit with Spirit Strengthening, I guess.
I mean, it's like, I don't know what, Zhurong can just get like 2k flat damage by himself or something. I don't know. It's just like, whatever.
Zhurong privilege.
Yeah. Okay, so his flat damage is only on end of turn debuffs, right? Yes. Or does this also work with end of turn skills? I don't really know, but I don't really think it works with end of turn skills. Also, does it work with on leaving skills that deal flat damage? I don't think so. And if you want to know, you could also just test it for yourself. But it's pretty much status effects. Oh my Tindalos is it?
It's just statuses that, or effects given from statuses at the end. There is no such thing as end of turn skills, and on leaving is just a different timing from the status effect. If you pay attention to the order of timings, they actually do like what's called, first there's the attack phase, and everyone fights and everyone gets hit, and then there's the departure phase, which is, you know, people leaving either on your side or the enemy side, depending if someone is possessed or not. And then after that, they put the status effects after, whether it's on your side or the enemy side. And that separate phases where the effects are applied for that dot strengthening.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, I was kind of curious whether it would just be like, whether like status effects that gave skills would also count. But considering the fact that craziness didn't affect the flat damage, then I don't think so. Okay, so oh my Tindalos is at skill level 88. It's gonna stay that way. Good for you. Damn, I made it on the last part because I woke up. I was wondering why he didn't have countdown himself. If he had countdown, yeah, that would be a lot nicer, but he doesn't. Next time I'll try make it. You can hate Tindalos all you want, you can't unfatten that ass. You can hate Tindalos all you want, but you can't unfan that beep.
What the fuck? Oh, sorry, God.
Doesn't Halloween Astoth kinda negate damage, or is that debuffs? It negates debuffs. I'm not really sure how that ties into Tindalos, but okay. When he synergized with regular Tindalos, if you could fit both in one team, it would even fit lore-wise. Oh yeah, I've actually tried doing that. It's okay. It's just that you're just kind of using regular Tindalos to buff like other people, while Summer Tindalos like defensively buffs other people. I mean, it works. It's just that it's not like amazing, I guess. Like regular Tindalos is pretty much just carrying your team at that point. So yeah. Sad, I only have Summer Babe Bunyan, Summer Catoblepas, and Vapula. They're okay units aside from Vapula, but yeah. Haunt is the safe buff to give enemies. Yes. I'm open to a stall strategy since I can't seem to clear high difficulty quests with nuke teams.
That's true. We're kind of spoiled with just wiping everyone, but you know, just being tanky is also a strategy.
Not really fond of stall strategies, just because it's like after like 40 turns or so, you start to think about what are you doing with your life. Yeah. Like, I'm not sure if like you really are down with the idea of like stalling with, I don't know, Core Poker 5 and like Summer Tindalos.
I mean, those are mostly memes at that point, but with Summer Tindalos, that's less of a meme for a brand new player, for example. Because with like quick clear teams, you need a bunch of units to make it work, whether it's more column clears or more damage buffers. But with Tindalos, it doesn't really matter who you bring with them; they're gonna be tanky no matter what, and you can just chip them away in the end.
Just use Fashionista Zabanias to get that instant countdown damage.
Of course.
Yeah, like yeah. So that's also kind of like a issue that I have with Summer Tindalos is that if my like metric for how good a tank is like their ability to solo a challenge quest, then Fashionista Zab wins over Summer Tindalos because Summer Tindalos is not going to do anything. Okay, next part. Taunt is only for a tank. Yes. Not enough all-range or attack buffers? I guess so. Cthulhu's my main nuke too. I mean, Cthulhu is pretty good. If it's not a survival quest, tanky units just waste time because they sit there taking hits. I mean, they don't just waste time. Because, I don't know, maybe there's like, the enemies have guts or something. Or, I don't know, there's guts resistance AR now. But maybe there's some times where it's unavoidable for you to take damage. Then you would just want a tank to protect your attackers. Survive for 15 plus turns quest when? Please no. Maybe for Cthulhu and different buffs like Tindalos, 3-star Berserk Plus. Yeah. Christmas Tetsuya isn't bad. He doesn't do much. He just doesn't do much outside of healing allies. Well, Christmas Tetsuya is actually like good on paper in the sense that he has a really high vigor chance of like 90% slash range. The main thing that I dislike about Christmas Tetsuya is that his protection is 80% chance, and it almost always seems to fail when you want it to happen. So yeah. That is his CS is just kind of like lame even if he has crit. So, I don't know. Like, every time I've used Christmas Tetsuya, he just kind of flopped. But maybe that was because I didn't have Kool-Aid AR at the time, because it didn't exist. Okay. My Elder Azazel. I like your thinking. I don't know if I make it back. I gotta go now. See ya, Arthur.
Thanks for joining, Lau.
I left because I don't care for the Tindalos, but I'm back to hear the comments. That's what I assumed. Just wanted confirmation. Overall, Tindalos is a good unit for a playstyle no one wants to do. Basically. I've never seen somebody use regular Akiha Gongen. People don't really use Festival Ryota. I mean, I think there's like a couple of people who've used them recently, but it's basically just not happening in general.
I mean, I use Kanan Tangoro and Irby uses fucking Soul and Taishakuten, so it's not like people don't use tank strategies.
Well, I mean, if Irby's using Soul and Taishakuten, that's not like a quest that's probably good. So yeah. Okay. Go until you feel tired. It doesn't matter if it takes 1,000 turns, you must win. Actually, it does matter if you take a long amount of turns, because if you take a lot of turns, then the game crashes, and you won't clear the quest. So yeah, you can't actually stall for too long.
I've never actually crossed the game playing that way. I've only heard it from others. Is that really true? Have you tried it yourself?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I tried to do that 1 billion damage with Ager thing, right?
Yeah.
And like after like 150 turns, it just crashed when I tried to win the quest, because I had to reset for like the crit plus on Herc and stuff for everything to align. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was so impressive that you managed to reach maximum damage capacity at that point of time.
Yeah, but when I tried to clear the quest after, it just crashed. So yeah, I lost my 2 stamina.
No.
Well, it does take 1,000 uni to switch teams. Lol. Christmas Tetsuya has protection and vigor. Yeah, I actually know Christmas Tetsuya's kit. What a shocker, right? I've used Christmas Tetsuya for a long while and never noticed that. Summer Tindalos, good or bad unit? He's good, for sure. Gotta go, going home. Thanks for the stream.
Thanks for joining,
Thank you.
Theo. I think he's actually new, so nice to see you joining for the first time, or if it wasn't, sorry for forgetting you. But yeah, see you around.
I guess it does kind of crash. I made it to 1 billion turns and I wasn't able to leave, so yeah, that's basically what I'm talking about. If you take too long, you won't win the quest. So yeah, you won't get that ticket.
The hidden
So I wouldn't
condition.
recommend it.
Okay. Thank you for reading out all the comments, Milk. It is now time to close the stream because that was indeed the last topic that we would be covering today. Let's just move to the end screen. Alright, so everyone, what are your thoughts on this event, the challenge quest we received, the new characters and designs and kit-wise, and just your overall feelings for Housamo right now?
This event is okay, I guess. Like the kits are kind of basic mostly, so they're not the most interesting. And I have found the music rather. I mean, it's not bad. I don't mind it, but it's kind of forgettable. It doesn't stick in my mind like, say, Virtual Summer Memory. So that's a shame. But content at least.
Yeah, it's nice that after that huge-ass drought and Fashionista's misery that we received another event in quick succession. So that's like 3 events in a row. I did...
Wow.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to... I just said wow, but I can also give my input on the event. I don't really like the music for this event. And I'm not a big fan of another... Oh, it's just another beach event with swimsuits. Okay, that's fine. But also, I don't really care about any of the units in here, so...
There's no hot older men.
What?
There's no hot older men on banner.
Yes, that is true. Akiha looks like a baby. So, it does not work. Sorry, Life Wonders. It didn't get me this banner. But, at least the kits... At least there are no bad kits except for the new unit, but honestly that's kind of a recurring theme for almost all events, so that's fine.
Alp syndrome.
Yep.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's just a mid banner. I don't want to say shit banner, even though I'm kind of leaning towards it, just because it's like it's really easy to get trash. But yeah, I think Babe Bunyan is probably sort of like the must pull for me if you had to pick one.
Yeah, if you're in need of a column clearer, he's definitely the one to go.
But you know, either way, if you're pulling from you have a good chance of getting some other comp here too.
You get Tindalos and Vapula.
Yeah, I had to obligatorily pull because I want Tindalos. What else is there? The music I think is okay to pretty good. I think it's definitely better than Summer Pool Twilight's music, which is kind of boring to me. I mean the battle theme for that.
Yeah, that one was...
The other theme was good.
Yeah,
the battle theme for this is a bit better, so I don't mind. The theme is okay. I actually do kind of just like this sort of like casual sort of beach event. Maybe it's because I don't really mind the characters as much as Irby. But to be honest, my main impression of the event is that Enigma looks like a fucking Dorito.
Oh, yes, that is the best part of the event. It's just how memeable he has become.
This is the
everything.
Enigma event where Life Wonders continuously thrashes on Enigma.
Yeah, so like when that challenge quest came out, I like looked at the the quest description beforehand, and there were like 6 enigmas, and I was like, okay, shit, CQ already. Like Life Wonders is just self-aware. You just put in all your enigmas in this like early level 60 challenge quest. Good.
That's a pretty funny thing.
I don't even know why they put him in if they weren't going to give him his entire kit. I thought it was going to, do darkness on us at least, but no.
Oh yeah. I wanted the turn start copy buff thing to happen, so I used Vapula to like try to turn the entire like all the enigmas into all range, but it didn't happen. So I was very disappointed.
Oh, what you mean like? Oh, I guess you mean like what would it be, like a fractal effect or something where it just
it would like spread out, and then it would like kill my entire team to make it more interesting. But
a challenge test video where you die in a miraculous way. That's great.
Yeah.
They didn't even give him that. Like, why? Well, I guess if they made him have that, it'll take forever for him to attempt to steal all the protections and tenacities that he can't steal because they already have it.
Yeah.
That would.
Yeah, I guess it would be pretty awful in hindsight if he did have to activate everything. But yeah.
Yeah. Not all that impressed by that CQ so far. So unimpressed that I haven't been able to make a video. I'll do that at some point, I'm sure.
Well, we talked about this, you and I, Milk. The challenge quest itself was kind of shit, but I do like the gimmick behind it. Just, held back by a few other things, like the low HP pool and the lack of effects from Enigma, as Irby pointed out, and all that. But yeah, in terms of the overall event, it's kind of shocking they went back to such a basic theme again. They kept on stretching out their theme. I was like expecting to see expected to see some brand new original theme, because they've been really stretching their wings when it comes to virtual summer, going underwater, or having an adventure on the river, or going by the pool instead of the seaside. And then it was just like beach event. When was the last time we had just a bona fide beach event? It's been like forever.
And Vara Falls, I guess.
Yeah, kind of. Although I guess. But still, that was like 2 or 3 years ago. Jeez.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago.
I mean, it's fine to me because from the event story that so far it doesn't seem like too entirely just like casual or like laid back. So I don't know. It's interesting.
All right. The real theme is sandcastles, I guess. I don't know. It's a very bizarre side. Theme.
Yeah, it's kind of related, but yeah, sure.
Anyways, if that's
all... I did think it was funny on the challenge quest that there were 3 enigmas that dealt flat damage, but 2 were already enough to put everyone at 1 HP. If you go 2.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. Like, you make this kind of gimmick and then it doesn't really matter because their HP is so low. Like, why? If you want to have us play by the rules, at least inflate their HP and the flat damage so that there's something to do, but I don't know.
Yeah, you don't even need spirit strengthening or all of that. You just need like a level 1 spirit for it to work, because they have such low HP at 100 that you don't even need the full 800 damage from spirit.
I have 100 HP. I haven't looked at the quest too much, so I didn't even notice.
See, the gimmick was neat because they actually had such extreme defense that it was pretty hard to actually get over 100 damage, and you couldn't pierce it, but it was still just 100 in the end, so you could pierce it eventually just with enough damage stacking. So it's pretty sad that it was such a wasted gimmick, because I did like how it rang back to the neural athletic phase in that way, but had like a defensive twist to it. Oh well.
Enigma will remain an enigma.
Yes. Oh yeah. The music's alright, I guess. Alright, I'll just go read out the comments and then I'll close out the stream. Does anyone remember the last comment we were at?
We did in fact say it on every comment section. Where were we?
Very cool. Yeah, I remember.
On the one build turn.
The one build turn?
You got it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
On new playing. Bye guys. Yeah, we're heading out soon. Thank you everyone for the stream. Thank you Irby and Milk and Zelgus. I like this event, but I'm salty I didn't get who I wanted. LOL. Yeah, that's just the host of the experience. The music is a reprisal of the Chapter 12 battle theme. I can't even remember that theme off the top of my head. It was pretty good from what I remember. I like the battle music only. Hope Halloween is good if it happens. Probably it's gonna happen from what I've heard. Technically, Tindalos is an old one. He's an old Obe one. Okay, my brain farted there for a second. No, don't bully Enigma. He's always looked like one, like a Dorito, yeah. Bye guys, hope the next kits are interesting for you. Yeah. Alright. Well, thanks for joining us everyone. We are now gonna say our byes and do whatever. Alright, on 3 everyone. 1, 2, 3. Bye. Why did I feel like only Milk joined me there?
I said it.
Alright, fine. Bye guys. Peace.